cares? Like, oh, let's not go to war because, like, like the inflation, it might affect the Syrians in a lot. Like, no, they don't give to.
Well, people have to be re-elected, so they have to kind of care about that.
They don't care, bro. In the 200, almost 50 years of the existence of the United Snakes of Gay, you guys have been at war for like, I think it's like 30 years off or something, like 220 years, whatever it is. Like it's the predominant reason why you guys make so much money.
We get it. You hate America. You hate America. It's fine. You hate America.
I don't
fucking hate everything.
You hate women. That's why you're gay. What I was saying. This is how America makes money.
I have a wife that you have a crush on. So
nobody has a wife.
No. You hate America. That's the problem that you're facing right now. But I think that Pepe is trying to make a different point. Okay?
We have a lubricant. You're running out.
Well, the point that Pepe is trying to make is the fact that America has a different set of principles. Like, you live in Holland, okay? You live in a different country than America.
No shit, Charles.
Your worldview is very different to Pepe's point of view. I mean, for example, you guys, I don't know, live with your parents until death, apparently.
Yeah, I love my parents.
Just like a personal
sorry, your parents ditched you. I love my parents.
Yeah, but then
let's make up something else. Go ahead.
Also, like you live in Europe, which is dealing with like a rape crisis right now, which you probably shouldn't be very proud about. Whereas
let's talk
U.S.
about how the sex offenders are.
Yeah, you're obsessed with Israel.
About Israel, United States. Let's talk about Israel about sex offenders, right?
The point that I'm making about
wait, you were making a point.
This message from FuseNet, the Feminine Early Warning System network from the US, nobody mentions it. They all mention the UN agency IPC, and then they say that Israel says that UN report is biased, UN report cannot be accepted. So they will write these two things, but they will never write or publicize what the US agency for on starvation and famine says about it. It says the same thing, and I've shared a link. I've shared that article over there in the chat for anybody who wants to read.
Thank you.
Yep. I think the other thing you come across is they always deny that there's nobody's starving in Gaza, right? And this is a very known tactic from Zionists. And there's a lot of Zionist talking points from even in related to genocide. They'll deny the genocide, and they'll even deny the apartheid. Have you been to the West Bank area when you went to Jerusalem? You've been to the West Bank, right?
No, I did not go. Because my husband didn't want to go, so I didn't go.
Oh, okay. So if you were to go to the West Bank, we have Brother Jindip here, he lives in the West Bank. There's about 920 checkpoints in the West Bank. And so let's say if they want to and these checkpoints are, the only people that get up at the checkpoints is the Palestinians. The Israelis, the settlers, they don't get to stop at all. Because of the Israeli license plate, they have Israeli identity, and so it's two sets of laws, for two groups of people. One, you got the Palestinians, the other ones are the Israelis. And that's where it kind of gets, so let's say if somebody wants to travel to America, 40 kilometers away, 50 kilometers away, right? In America, I'm in California, by the way. Here, 40 kilometers meaning about 20, 30 miles, it only takes me about 30 to 40 minutes. But over there in the West Bank, they would have to leave at least 4 or 5 hours before, because at the checkpoint, you never know. They'll stop you for an hour up to 4 hours. And there's multiple checkpoints. And they even have checkpoints on flying a chopper. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy. And there's a lot of organizations out there where it makes it apartheid. And it gives you evidence. Why is it apartheid? Because there's two sets of laws. So I'll give you one example. Let's say a Palestinian in the West Bank gets attacked by a settler. All right. Now, who should he call? He or she? They will call. They will try to call the Palestinian Authority, right? And they'll be like, nope, we can't come. We can't deal with them, right? And if they call the what is it called, IDF comes around, protects the freaking crazy psychopath terrorist settler that's committing crime, that's pretty much raping the shit out of Palestinian. Palestinian resists. He gets arrested. He gets locked up in Israeli prison under administrative detention without due process. And this is the big problem for the Palestinians in the West Bank. And every time they release about 100 or maybe 50 Palestinians, they'll go in there and arrest about 500 of them without due process. And some of these, and there's some of them are kids, even just for throwing a rock at IDF truck, they'll pick them up, arrest them, and it will get renewed every 6 to 9 months, and sometimes they can be in there for about 2 years, 5 years, 6 years. The longest one I think I've seen was about 9 years without, under administrative detention, without due process, and I was in a shock, But I think Leila is a Palestinian. She wants to add something really quick, and if you have any more questions, Ariel, you're welcome to ask us any questions, or if you hear any arguments from the Zionist group, you're welcome to come in and say.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I was going to add was that, so where I live in Gaza, it should only take you maximum about like 40 minutes, right? Technically based on the distance to get to Al-Quds, which is Jerusalem, okay? And unfortunately, due to the amount of checkpoints that are there, and story back, a lot of my family members tried to go to Jerusalem for pilgrimage or like to see, our mosque and our holy sites and stuff like that. And a lot of our family members from Gaza would travel, and what should have taken them maximum anywhere between an hour, to 40 minutes, ended up taking them about 4 to 5 hours. Some people actually had to stay at checkpoint overnight in a little cell. Very, very similar to what you see in the United States with the ICE detention centers. And even after all of that, you could still be denied leaving Gaza. You could still be denied, entry into Jerusalem after going through all of that. And when Amir talked about how, there are people who are held without due process, who are held, under, who are held under, who are held administrative detention, that's the word. I actually have a cousin within my family who is right now being held under administrative detention. And he's been in administrative detention since he was 12. So the fact that children are getting detained, and you know what he did? He threw a rock at a tank, okay? That's why he's being held under administrative detention, and he's been there for about, I would say, like 4 years now, and he hasn't come out. So, mashallah, he should have been graduating, college. He should have been applying to universities. He really liked playing soccer. He should have, been playing soccer, but he spent some of the best years of his youth under administrative detention, all for throwing a rock at a tank.
Sorry to hear the sister. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. One second, Rhonda. So I'm about to put the link in the chat. Hang on. So when you go into Zionist rooms next time, just ask them, why is Netanyahu funded Hamas? Right? Here's one. This is a Hamas one. I'm going to give you another article from their own source, and this one's from Times of Israel. This is a Jewish Israeli source that says the Hamas blew up in their face. I'll give you another article where Netanyahu is giving weapons to ISIS, Islamic State, that's stealing the aid for more than a year, and that sells it in the black market, for triple the price or like 5 times the price. And then they kept on blaming Hamas for stealing the aid, blah blah blah. They would do this all the freaking time, and then they'll go in there and try to go after. And all this stealing was happening the IDF, under the IDF supervision. I'll put another article. If you can bookmark it, save it, and this is Times of Israel. I'm gonna provide another article from Times of Israel about the ISIS thing. Go on.
I just wanted to say to the sister, I'm very sorry about your brother. He doesn't deserve it, and I hope he can come out soon. SubhanAllah. These people, bro. By the way, how old was your brother when he got arrested?
So, it's my cousin. My brother, I have three older brothers, and inshallah, like, they have their own experiences with the IDF. We're American, so we get a little bit of a leeway, if you could say. Like, of course, by language. Of course, by language, you know, when we go to Palestine, we appear like we're Arab and whatnot. But, so, like, the IDF, like, when they interact with us, they see, okay, like, you know, like, they're Arab, they're Palestinian, but then we whip out the American passport and they're like, oh, like, you know, they start apologizing and stuff. But the person that I was talking about is my cousin, and he was about, I think, 12 and a half, closer to 13. If I remember correctly, it was about a week before his 13th birthday, and the reason why I remember that is because, you know, like, I remember talking to him, you know, a day or two. He's like, I'm like a little bit old. I'm like his big sister, right? So, like, I'm a little bit older than him. I'm talking about him like, oh, what do you want from America and stuff like that. And that's like the last conversation that I had with him. I was one of the last people to talk to him and haven't been able to speak to him for the past 4 years.
SubhanAllah, that's so evil, bro. It's a 13-year-old child. It's crazy. I don't even have like a, it's crazy. Wow. If you have this 12 in the house and the ministry, it's crazy. And it's so evil, sister. I mean, think about it, brother. I don't even think in America you can arrest a person at the age of 12.
I hear you, Randall. So, Ariel, I put 2 links in the chat, ISIS and Hamas, and the third one I posted is Rolo down in the audience. He says Muslims are the problem, Islamists is the problem. Apparently, I don't know if he's aware of it, you know, from his Jewish scholars and rabbis, majority of them agree to this, that thanks to the Muslims in Jerusalem, they were brought back to Jerusalem. Otherwise, you know, no offense to anybody that's in Christian faith, the Christians, they wanted to kick them out. They do not like they did not like the Jews. But when Muslim, you know, conquered the land, they took over. You know, they brought the Jews back into the land. And by the way, Caliphate was Islamist, by the way, Rolo. I don't know if you know about this. You should be respecting, you know, the Caliphate. You should respect all the Muslims instead of talking smack about it, instead of talking shit about Muslims in your rooms, in here, or in real life. You know, and learn it from your daughter. Your daughter is pro-Pali. She's raising funds for the pro-Pali protest. I don't know where you get your facts from. You're just a dumbass, you know. And what else can I call you? A kangaroo fucker. That's it. That's all I can tell you from Australia.
Laila, are you there, Laila? Hey, Laila, are you there?
Amir, are you okay? You okay?
I'm okay. Kangaroo fucker. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, look, I get how you...
Islamist is a problem. Islamist. Did you read the rabbi? Did you listen to the rabbi? Ask. Okay, go on.
Okay. Look, nothing that I said is non-factual. The fact is that 90% of terrorist organizations that have been designated by countries just happen to be Islamist. I don't know why.
Same talking point. Bring me something new to the table. We have got a debunk technique last time.
Eva,
How's your daughter doing, bro?
you never
Still
spoke about
pro-Palestine?
that Hamas
She's
is...
still supporting
Hamas was funded by Netanyahu. ISIS is funded by Netanyahu. What do you want me to do? I gave you data in the chat.
And it's
Your daughter is an Islamist, bro.
What's an Islamist?
What about the Houthis? All the IRGC, all Islamist terrorist organizations.
What is Islamist?
Does your daughter support
And
Islamists?
injure, and rape,
Your daughter
and pillage, and be able to conquer. This is what they do.
So Rohan, hang on. Rohan, one question to you.
You want to talk about these things? You're going to be.
Yes, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you one question, Rohan.
Accuse me of saying lies.
Okay, can I ask you one question, Rohan? I'll ask you one question. When the Jews kicked out of Jerusalem?
About what I'm talking about?
Were the Jews that kicked out of Jerusalem?
There's no script.
Were the Jews kicked out of Jerusalem?
Hajj. Do you remember?
By the Christians. Were the Jews kicked out by the Christians in Jerusalem?
Hajj, Husseini, who's Jerusalem, of Hitler. Right?
Okay, Lehi, a Jewish militia gang in 1940 to 41 worked with Hitler. You had a lot of transfer to 1933. Did it with Hitler? No. We're going before the Hajim and Hussein. We're going based on Lehi Jewish militia gang. They were working with Hitler. They opposed to Hitler.
Got it.
Wow.
So you wonder why
Are you going to acknowledge the Lehi Jewish militia gang opposed to Hitler in 1940? Are you going to acknowledge that?
I'm silent about this, so thank you.
Look, I don't mind acknowledging.
Do you support Islamism?
Do you support terrorist attacks?
You support
Do you support the terrorist attacks? The Jewish rabbi supports it. I put the link in the chat. If the rabbi supports it, I stand with the Jewish rabbi.
You can't say it. You can't say it.
I stand with the rabbi. The rabbi, hold on. Rabbi supports Islam. I put the link in the chat.
I got it.
Let's say it.
You're getting very triggered up here. Okay. I asked you whether you support Islamism. You could give me a straight answer. Okay. So you support it. You support Islamism. And that's okay. You can say it.
What is Islamism? What is Islam? Can you elaborate on this first, please?
Oh, okay. What is it? Well, I don't know. I mean, you know so much about Israel, about condemning Israel, about the history of the region, which you make up a lot about, which is really interesting. You've got no idea about
Roland, bro, you're actually a bot, bro. I swear to God. You're literally a bot, bro.
By the way, sorry, I've got to go. I've got a life.
Do you figure
Run away.
Do you finger your mom? Do you finger your mom, bro?
Yeah, run away. He just did a drive-by on us.
Disgusting.
Can I speak, guys? Can I speak?
Yes, brother Fred.
One thing, Fayez, can I just make one point real quick, then you can speak one sentence. We, as Muslims on this app or just in general in real life, please let's stay away from the word Islamist. It's a made-up term. It makes no goddamn sense. That's some shit that we have to stay away from. We can't normalize that word. It makes no sense, correct?
Thank you, Mazi. Hello, Rohan. How are you? It's been a long time since this toilet cleaner spoke to you. Remember me, Rohan? Are you there? Okay. He's not. Or maybe he doesn't want to engage with the toilet cleaner. Doesn't matter. It's okay. The thing is, this they keep talking about this the Jerusalem high priest Al-Amini meeting by Hitler. You know what? He met Hitler. I went and researched Holocaust Encyclopedia and Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem is the details that are kept in Jerusalem, in Israel, in the Israeli museum. And both say that Al-Husseini did not meet Hitler to target or to incite him to kill Jews. First of all, the Holocaust started in the early 1930s. Al-Husseini met Hitler in 1941. And why did Al-Husseini meet Hitler? Because at that point in time, Hitler was a very powerful world leader. Okay. And the Zionists were already making deals with Hitler because the Zionists were not getting from the British whatever they wanted. So what they would do is go to Hitler and get him to support their cause, and thereby, weaken the position, weaken the hold of the British on Palestine. This is what they did. In fact, some of them went to the extent of making deals with Hitler, overlooking the Holocaust, the mass killing of Jews that was going on. In fact, there was a it came to knowledge, it was brought to his, or it came to his knowledge that Hitler was planning to murder 1 million Hungarian Jews. Okay, in fact, incidentally, the biggest Jewish population in Europe that was gassed to death was Hungary, one of the biggest. Okay, and this guy, his name is Rudolf Katz. He went on to negotiate with Hitler when the matter of a million Jews going to be killed in Hungary came. He did not take it up. He did not bring it back and alerted the world. He did not do anything. All he did was, look, this is a list of 1,600 Hungarian Jews that I want you to release. Let them in. We will pay you a lot of money. And he paid them because he was a very rich Swiss Hungarian.
Some people were to be driving across the border in Tijuana, and there's like a dead, mangled girl in the back of the truck, and they'd be like, "Oh, Skittles! Oh my God!" You know, they'd be like, like how horrible, you know. So, like it's. But I would say, like we would have ended up, absolutely, our military would go in. You would probably, similar to 9/11, have a you would kind of see like Americans pulling together and being a little bit more patriotic, and then there would be a subset of the population that would be like, yeah, I'm going to join the military. Fuck this shit. You know, how dare they do this? And then we would go in and we would absolutely, we would not stop until the organization and the fighters and anybody that was part of that enemy organization was completely fucking dead. That's reality.
We talked about, hold on.
Here's the thing that
Hold on.
when you think about
Hold on. I mean, he asked me, and we actually talked about this last time. And Ludwig, you actually brought up Rachel Ford. And I want to bring up in 2014 when Israel was bombing Gaza. Because, you know, this didn't all happen and start on October 7th. The members of the town Seredo, which is not far outside of Gaza, it's an Israeli settlement. They set up beach chairs and grabbed their popcorn, and they said it was better than fireworks when they were looking upon the bombing of Gaza. We talked about Rachel Corey, who was a white American volunteer in Gaza, who stood in front of a bulldozer in protest of a home getting demolished, and the bulldozer crushed her. Israelis started baking her face into pancakes to mock her. You can look at the Israeli Telegram channel, which has over 200,000 subscribers, called 72 Versions Uncensored, before it was taken down, of course. I don't know if it's still around.
to get at, Joshua?
I agree.
Violence begins violence. So you have
I agree with you.
Violence? Really?
violence begins violence.
Okay, I agree with you. There's cringe things.
The one girl got run over by a bulldozer and that's an excuse for genocide?
That's just, that's one example.
See the red flooded window? We have those fucking.
I'm gonna impersonate absolutely John.
Well, hold on a second. We're using. Hold on. We are using anecdotal examples. Okay, yes. Do people do really cringe shit? Do I think it was really like gross? Some Israelis, they would make these TikTok videos and they would like pour water from their faucet and be like, "Oh, look what we have." It's like, okay, I get it. You guys are angry. You know, I guess in the moment they're thinking a certain way or feeling a certain way, fine. But at the end of the day, though, you said how like, these people were looking out and saying, "Oh, it's like fireworks." But what I recall seeing, and this is even before October 7th, is that every time there was a terrorist attack that happened, when somebody from Gaza ended up committing, I remember there was a mass shooting in a synagogue. I believe a guy with who was carrying ended up neutralizing him. But what did they do? Literally lit off fireworks, passing out candies. They're celebrating. They're like, yay, yay. And so it's like, okay, if we have to be consistent because, and even how they were celebrating with the dead Jewish girl in the back of that truck, that's disgusting.
It goes both ways. Wait. Let me actually make a point up ahead. Wait, no. You guys are going to talk about
was countering what Ludwig said.
I
So
will let
you
yeah,
can,
no, no.
you can respond to him. Yeah, you can respond to him, okay?
Yeah, you can just wait for your turn, press a button.
Okay, just don't taunt, just say.
No, I wasn't taunting. So what I would say is like you gave a perfect example with like what's the Dazzle Street. What I was saying about like the example you gave with Mexico, right? What you're forgetting is this did not start nowhere near October the 7th, 2023.
Nobody said that it did.
No, exactly my point. It started on the 14th of May,
But nobody
1948. So
said
if
that
you
it started.
Sorry, before that.
Alright, just let him finish, just let him finish. Because I already have, I already have rebuttals that I'm not gonna give. I said no one can go next.
So
You think I'm normal, you can go after.
you go all the way from the 14th of May, 1948, all the way to October the 6th, 2023. That's decades, my friend. Decades of innocent men, women, and children getting slaughtered. Women dying at the border that are delivering a baby that are not being allowed to cross the border. Right? And we have like an ungodly amount of these stories more. And then to be like upset about October the 7th, and by the way, I don't approve it. I don't support the killing of nobody.
Well, you're not upset.
That's for the record, right?
You're not
So
upset.
Just let him land. You guys need to go next, just let him land.
So if you're looking at this, and then it's sort of like, well, October the 7th, that's really surprising. You've been slaughtering these people for like 75 years. What's really weird about that this eventually was going to happen, by the way, with the approval of, the state called Israel, because they waited with at least 4 hours to respond. So the blood is on their hands. It's your fault, Eleanor. It's your Israel's fault.
Alright, so you want, hold on. Ewan's gonna go and then El's gonna go.
Well, you know what? Gaza is your fault. You
Okay.
deal with it. Those dead people, your fault, Luke.
El, save it. El, I will let you go for a few minutes uninterrupted. You can say whatever you want, and I will not allow them to interrupt you. But please let Ewan go, and then El Normo, the floor will be yours.
Alright, Pepe. What I will say is that you should, and this is just, I don't care less the things on this, but you should probably be looking at what Elon Musk is tweeting about, talking about England, for example, with the fact that you have girls pulling out knives and axes to defend themselves from like migrant people who are threatening them. This whole country.
Interrupt. You don't get to interrupt, Ludwig. Let him say what he's gonna say, and then El Normo.
So the country that I live in has become the rape capital of Europe. There are 73,000 rapes a year, and every woman that I talk to is fucking afraid in every town I go to. I travel around, I know people. I speak with Polish women, like I speak with all sorts of other women. I just had it recently, like obviously with Polish women. But what I will come to the conclusion with is that women are fucking scared of what's going on in this country, and not only that, but there's a massive flag waving movement where people are putting flags up all over the country, and that is literally the beginning of it. And the UK is going to turn into the beginning of a major movement, probably across Europe. And Ludwig, I mean, it's sad because you live near like Holland, or if you live in Holland, where a
I know.
So the number one issue, right now that is becoming.
Okay, faggot.
So the number one issue in. So the number one
I'm
issue
just trying to wrap it up. Just trying to wrap it up.
in the UK and the rest of Europe now is becoming something called a migrant crisis, and it's becoming major. And the US has to be worried about it as well. It's going to happen to you guys. I know you guys shut the borders, but it's not in that way. And this is what Europe is trying to warn you. And this is why we literally have fucking Trump school showing up to the UK right now, interviewing people. So we have a major issue on our hands. Okay? The UK is very I'm sorry. Let me.
Oh, okay, we're trying to wrap it up. You and I agree on this. Like, and we've talked about this a million times. Like, we do agree on it.
I know, I'm like 2 seconds away from wrapping up. But the fact that, like, people like Ludwig, who lives in Holland, where this place is not raised.
Ludwig, you can't interrupt. It's like I told them you can't.
My bad. I apologize.
Where the police don't care, that's the problem. The people that don't care about these rapists getting arrested, the people that fight back against it, those people, in my opinion, are the fucking enemy. And I'll land there. They're the fucking enemy. If they don't care about that, that's fucked up. Underage girls, dude. That's it.
I agree.
That was it.
Go ahead, El Normo, don't say anything about Ludwig, just make your point. I know you can do that. And Ludwig, that means you Ludwig, that means you cannot interrupt at all. You get to go next, but Ludwig, you cannot interrupt, okay? I will not let you. Pinky promise, you get to go uninterrupted after him, but you gotta let El Normo go uninterrupted. So
I make no false promises, but I'm gonna do my best.
Okay.
And if he interrupts, then he can't go next. Is that fair?
No, I'm just, I don't want to have to move people, but just, guys, please, geez, it's not that fucking hard. Go ahead.
I'm delighted. I'm delighted that this ignorant convert mentioned 1948. May 14th is really Independence Day. You know what happened on May 14th, 1948? Nothing. Israel declared independence, and the world recognized it without one single shot being fired. But wait, what happened on May 15th, 1948? 5 Arab nations attacked little Israel, just one day old, filled with refugees, weak little Jews from refugees from all over the world, all over the Arab world and all over Europe. 5 armies. Syria, enormous. Egypt, enormous. Jordan, quite large. Lebanon, big. Saudi Arabia, enormous. Plus 2 militias. One of local Arabs and one from Pakistan. What were they doing there? I wonder if that was a religious thing. And what happened to these 5 countries and 2 additional armies that attacked little Israel? They got their bloody asses kicked.
Why do you have so
What
much
was their
delay?
point when they attacked? What was their point when they attacked? Oh, they told you what the point was. Bloody annihilation. They put it in writing. Extermination. Huh, what does that sound like? Genocide, perhaps? And they failed. And they attacked again in 67 and in 73. And what happened? They got their asses kicked. So now Israel has become, by winning a series of wars, the regional superpower, the dominant power in the region after finally kicking Iran's ass. And by the way, it deserved it for a long time as the world's foremost sponsor of terror. So yeah, Israel has a right to demand that its neighbors not be terrorists. By the way, Hamas is not a legally recognized government. They slaughtered the legally recognized government, the Palestinian Authority, in Gaza. That's right. They slaughtered the only legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. Fancy that. They're illegitimate. The Arab world wants them gone. The Arab League said it. The Arab League said it last month. They want Hamas out. Surrender, put down your weapons, give the hostages
This is the Arab League speaking, not me. This is not a Jew telling you this. This is the Arabs telling you this. Give back the hostages, put your guns down, and get the hell out. I'll land it there.
Alright, so, I can,
Heard that, right? Quickly, Pepe, what I want to say.
alright, I'll give you guys like a minute. I'm gonna start timing you fucker.
59 seconds, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm out of luck.
This guy was talking about this poor girl, 17 years old. She got killed. I'm not sure if she got raped as well. So that's not even certain for him to speak about, like, oh, she got raped and whatnot. We do know she got murdered. We do know there's a 22-year-old man that got somebody stealing a motorcycle. Oh, damn sad. We do know he's 22-year-old. Nobody really knows where he's from because they don't have no documentation. So for you to even claim that he has been arrested twice and he's been released twice, it's completely false, because if that was a single fingerprint or a DNA sample would have proven. So the fingerprint or like a DNA, something would have already proven that he's been arrested before, which was not the case. So nice try, you and bubblehead. Oh, that's lit.
Okay, go ahead. I'll give you a minute, 30 seconds, because you are, hold on, let me, God damn it. Shit. Alright, amazing. Alright. Go ahead, Josh.
And they say something for 30 seconds, and I'll be right back.
I can say something.
Go ahead, if you want to say something. Dude, let's keep it to Israel. That's what we're talking about. We can talk about the migrant crisis, but honestly, the migrants are coming from all over, and it's not. I don't think it really has much to do with the conflict in Israel.
Okay. So, in response to Norma in 1948, there were things that preceded this. By the way, the UN didn't recognize Israel as a proposition, not a declaration. So the Arabs had every right to reject it. But prior to the Nakba, there was the Deir Yassin massacre. Alright, when Israeli soldiers from, before it was the IDF, there were terrorist groups known as the Haganah, the CERN gang. They bombed the King David New Tunnel. They're actually the first ones to do terrorism in such a way in the Middle East. The Deir Yassin massacre it happened, and they raped and killed women and children along with the men. So when the Arab countries saw this and they saw that Zionism was taking a hold militarily, they decided to do an intervention. Zionists will call it an invasion that came out of nowhere because they wanted to kill all the Jews or whatever. But it was exactly that. It was an intervention to prevent massacre and further displacement that was already happening there. Violent terrorist groups started popping up, and that's the other number.
Let's call it what it was. It was a genocide. They said we want to annihilate the Jewish state. They said they wanted to do a bloody extermination. I'm quoting them. I'm not making this up. They said in the newspaper, the head of the Arab League, it was a genocide.
They never
It was a
said
genocide that failed. They said those words that I just told you in that way.
But is it
Bloody extermination. They wanted to exterminate the Jewish state.
Let me ask
Bloody
you a question.
annihilation. They say it all the time, by the way. It's not the only time
Oh,
they say
sure,
it.
but let me ask you a question. Is that okay, and I'll let you answer, and then Alan's on stage. I'll let him say what he wants to say. And so when it comes to holy shit, I do think that when it comes to okay, so it was a Jewish state. Do I think that you were going to get people that saw these people that were coming from outside of the area
moving in, do I think that they were being nativists? Sure, maybe they didn't have a country. It was just it was a colonized piece of land before, but they didn't want them there. And yeah, maybe them being Jewish was a big deal. I personally wouldn't doubt that, but I mean, was it that they wanted to exterminate them, or is it they wanted to just get them out of the land?
They said in words that they wanted a bloody annihilation and extermination. And they say all the time they want to push all of us to the sea. What do you think from the river to the sea is in Arabic? I'll tell you. In Arabic they say, from water to water, Palestine will be Arabic. They want to end the Jewish state. It's genocide. It's a call for genocide. Now, regarding the Arab nations, listen. They got all the land. They got all the oil. Jews never said, oh, we want some. If we were looking for money, we would ask for some of the oil. By the way, go take a look at the map of Israel, which is tiny. It's the size of New Jersey, as everybody knows by now. It's like the fourth tiniest nation in the region, except we don't have any oil. So, they got all the land. They gave us one tiny little plot, and it was good. If they had said yes to the UN plan, then the Arabs, who are now calling themselves Palestinians, they didn't call themselves that at the time. These Arabs, they'd have a little land just like Israel. And we could have them side by side, the same way you have North Korea and South Korea side by side, right? North Korea is a dystopian nightmare where there's frequently famine and starvation. And South Korea is like a model nation. In this equation, Israel is South Korea, a modern, technologically advanced, prosperous nation with a higher per capita GDP than most countries in Europe. And you have these Palestinian Arab guys who have no economy. They live on aid. We sunk more money into so-called Palestine than we used to rebuild Europe after World War II, than the Marshall Plan. Except at the end of the Marshall Plan, we had Europe. It was all fixed up. It had economies, tourism, products, peace. It had peace. These guys, we sunk all this money into them. And what we got...
One minute, stop.
Man, Alan is white.
And what we got... Hang on, Lucius. And what we got from it was... October 7th. Terrorism. 500 miles of tunnels. 500 kilometers of tunnels under Gaza. This is a great achievement.
Beautiful engineering. Beautiful.
But here's the problem. They didn't let any of their own people into the tunnels. Because they want them to die. Because they wanted them to be killed by bombs. Because they want their people to be shaheeds. They say it all the time. Just listen to them in Arabic.
I've heard it, and I won't pass it on to Alan, but I will say this. That is absolutely fucking atrocious that we had to send him, that we had to send those fuckers foreign aid, and the amount of engineering and money that went into getting their weapons and the tunnels. I mean, come on. Nobody wanted to help the Palestinians to be a bunch of savages. I know, we were not supporting them to be resistance fighters. The international community was supporting them to basically try to help them prosper. So that is bullshit. You have to agree with that.
Prosper being stuck in between three walls on a beach. How do you prosper?
All right, well, go ahead, Alan.
A thriving society.
The blockade decimated
They had a hospital. They had
They didn't start with the blockade. They didn't start with Hamas. The blockade came because they're violent.
Okay, well, let Alan, Alan, I said, another fellow Armenian, go ahead. When I say fellow Armenian,
Go to Israel, become doctors, then go back.
okay, all of you
Man, shut the fuck up already, Johnny.
inferior non-Armenians, there I have now declared supremacy of all of you. So, do not refute anything I say. There you go. Except for you, Ludwig.
Thank you. I was waiting.
Wait, I didn't hear what he said.
I can't believe you think.
Did you say Armenians are superior? Yeah, I did. I declare.
No,
Armenians
Yeah, yeah.
used to design battlefields, clubhouse,
Yeah, so anyway,
miserable.
so, all right, so here I go.
Country's dead, like everyone's out of the country.
What, Norm, you know, the history you said was correct. And yeah, absolutely, they kicked the other nation's asses, okay? That is irrefutable. Flash forward, though, to today, and then within the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years, the way the world perceives Israel's actions as an underdog, and the way it perceives those actions as you put it, the regional superpower, are two different things. And people, and Israel and Jewish people, keep defending themselves or using the arguments as if they are the underdog. And it isn't, and it hasn't been for a long time. And that's a problem. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole back and forth between Palestinians and Israel and any of that. I don't want to address that. I'm only talking about the perception on the world stage. I don't think you can argue that if you are landing punch after punch when your back is on the ground and a bully is on top of you, it's very different than if you are on top and the bully is on the ground and you're landing punch after punch. At a certain point, people are going to look at the person on the top, regardless of whether it was the bully or the victim, and they're going to say, hey man, that's enough, stop punching the dude. And so, and I think it's an important distinction that people miss in all of this, and it's a distinction that I've tried to make in various different ways when this subject comes up. Because to me, and I'm sorry, maybe it's because I'm psychic, or maybe because I understand things or view things in a different way, but October 7th, I knew Israel was going to, that this was the last straw, and Israel was going to bring its full force down on Gaza, and it would decimate that. And I knew that that would be, as far as the world stage, that was a losing proposition. Now, what a better solution is, I don't know that there is one. And I think that was the point, to goad Israel into that reaction. Much in the same way that the United States got goaded into a war in the Middle East after 9/11. I mean, it's sort of like, well, you kind of have to do it because you can't look like a pussy. So we have to kick ass over there. But then, did we win? No. Bin Laden got exactly what he wanted. What he wanted was to make Americans paranoid. That's what he wanted. And he won. So, those are my comments. The last comment I'll make is we don't need to compare Jews and Muslims or Islam and Judaism and say that, well, yeah, Jews are better than Muslims or Muslims are better than Jews. I mean, what's happening in Europe, that's been going on. I mean, the grooming.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
Muslims are committing in the Middle East. That bullshit and that scumbaggery and sadistic
Have you ever had a person?
by Muslims have been going on, and it's the European leaders' own fault. That's something I've been
at least since 2005, the whole fact that Muslims are raping English girls and gang raping them and grooming them and mutilating and attacking people with acid and knives, that's been going on for a long time. And the British government and now the European Union are condoning it. Why? Because they're sadistic pigs and they deserve to all rot in hell. Amen, brother. Perpetrators. So, go ahead. No, that's, I'm done.
This is the same thing.
After the concept of intergenerational, what is it called? Intergenerational trauma. So the Jews were victimized. So now they get victimized.
No, we're not talking, that's not what we're talking about.
They need to, why don't you just kill them all? Like, why don't we just repeat?
Oh my God.
Wipe them off the map.
Yeah, but we're not even talking about that.
At this point, you might as well, like, let's get it over with. Just watch it all.
What you're trying to say.
That's not what
You can't even choke a person out because you're so gay. Get the fuck out.
I'm gonna start modding the fascist.
What are you
There's
mad
a
at?
fascist on
I just
stage.
want to say, Alan, I think you had a very eloquent way of saying that, and I agree with like 90% of what you said. And I'm going to agree with you, but also disagree on the subject of Israel. Is it the guy on the bottom or the guy on the top? Yes, you're right. Israel has emerged as a regional superpower, but that's as of June, when we had our 12-day war, because before that, we were fighting proxy wars. So if you go all the way back to the period after Israel declares independence and then kicks the ass of those nations that tried to wipe us out, it became a proxy war in the Cold War, meaning the United States was behind Israel to keep this sort of the Western power in the conflict, and Russia, or I should say the Soviet Union, was backing the Arabs, and that was the play there. And then the Soviet Union imploded, and so the United States was the only remaining superpower. And Iran, shortly thereafter, stepped into the vacuum and became the greatest sponsor of terror in the region. So there was actually an existential threat, Alan. Hezbollah to the north, they had a lot of missiles. It's just that Israel was counting them and knew where they all were, and then exploded them before they could attack and overwhelm the missile defense system. They were supposed to attack at the same time as Hamas, but they didn't trust each other, and Hamas rushed it. So there was an existential threat, despite the fact that Israel has emerged as the regional superpower. And also, we didn't know that Iran was a paper tiger. We didn't know that they would be that easily defeated. At least I didn't know, and you didn't know. So Israel went into this, I would say, as first among equals, shall we say, on some level, but has emerged, especially with U.S. backing, as the superpower. The U.S. doesn't want to get involved in this. U.S. would just as soon sell Israel the weapons and let Israel be the peacekeeper in the region. And the other stuff that you said, I kind of agree with. I'm not anti-Islam, but I am anti the destruction of the rule of law and decency, the kinds of things that you're seeing and that you're talking about around the world. We're worried, I think, that there's this weird sort of fake coexistence going on that's then going to turn into a real subversion and a destruction of the values that we hold dear. All of our freedoms, free market, free to dress the way we want and express ourselves the way we want and trade the way we want. We're worried that Islam is doing one of these weird kind of jihads by
weaponized
Okay, can I jump in with that? So Norm, I have a question for you. I find that like when we get into these conversations, especially about Europe and the UK and stuff like that, you don't really want to talk about it.
I do agree. I do kind of agree with you. But I do think that when it comes to, you say like we should not talk about Muslim, and Alan was kind of saying like Muslim versus Jew. I get it, but when we talk about and even this is kind of like why I didn't want to diverge from the Israel Gaza conflict because it is somewhat unrelated. But I will say the people that
and I've been seeing this a lot online, a lot of the people that I think are hostile towards Westerners and Western values, that are pro-Palestine, they're taking on both the far right and the far left positions in particular, in order to like propagate their cause. And if we look at the far right, they're going to be far more likely than others to say like, hey, wow, these migrants are a problem. And of course, they always have this convenient excuse. Well, it's like, oh, well, okay, so the Jews are kind of like pulling the strings. Amazing. And it's just like, okay, but I don't want you in our country. They're like, dude, we wouldn't have to be in your countries if it wasn't for the Jews. The Jews are, causing you guys to cause instability and, I don't know, wars and Middle Eastern countries. And if it wasn't for that, we would never come.
I wouldn't say it's because of the Jews, though. Wait.
But no, these are what the pro-Palestinian people will say. Muslims in particular will say to people who are further on the right or maybe just right wing.
Okay, let's scroll up.
Hey, even though they're like literally coming into Europe in droves, they're hostile to the native populations of Europe. They will say like, oh yeah, the only reason this is happening is because the Jews and or the Zionists is usually how they'll put it. They're they're goading the United States into all of these Middle Eastern wars and destabilizing the place, and then they have to flee, and then we're coming to Europe, and like we get it, bro. We don't want to have to come to your countries. We would love to come back to where we came from, and they it's kind of there's so much subversion that happens online, and I've seen so many people just eat this shit up. You have like these cockroaches like Suleiman, Khaleesi. She blocked me. I called her a lot of choice words. I don't know. I kind of get what you're saying.
Well, just kind of frustrated. I'm kind of frustrated at this point, Pepe, because I don't know. I look at every social media platform, and it can be like, and I'm like, yeah, of course, you always leave when this conversation comes up.
I know this is what it's. I mean, you did change the topic, to be fair, but and Alan kind of touched on it. Like Alan, I don't have a problem with Muslims. And I've made it very clear, like Prince, Mikhail, any of the Muslims that I talked.
I'm sorry, hold on. Optimize service and process for your team. Manage service end-to-end in a single platform. Secure a qualified business process to remove.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So, my name is Adrian Gonzalez. I'll give you guys an update on what I know as of now. So, approximately 2:30 this afternoon, we received multiple radio calls, shooting calls at this location. The location where the shooting occurred is behind me, in front of the market. At that time, our officers responded to multiple radio calls of victims being down. We did locate ultimately 5 victims so far. They all suffered from various injuries. They were all transported to local hospitals. And as of now, we haven't had any victim who has been pronounced deceased. It's an ongoing investigation. Our investigators are here, our detectives are here. We continue to scour the location for video, for additional witnesses, for additional evidence. And so we will continue investigating this investigation with whatever resources that we need to. One thing I do want to mention is we don't know the cause yet of what happened here. As we continue interviewing some of our witnesses, we might get more information. We are looking at it from a gang-related component, and so that we have our gang officers here. We have additional gang officers working the streets, conducting follow-ups and trying to gather more information.
I was gonna be the one who's targeted, and then Elon might join.
I
saying that they believe strongly that an attack is imminent against them. So yeah, and I have heard what you said before from news sources also. But if there's a deal that's worked out this way, you know, what happens to because Hezbollah protects Lebanon, but at the same time, I think Shape. I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but since the early '80s, Israel has been antagonistic and outright murderous to Lebanese people. Since in the occupied Lebanon, and they have not drawn a border between Lebanon and Israel. Meaning Israel.
Across the board. So, I mean, it's like, look, you're dating a girl, she's nice, she's good in bed, but any other time, you're fighting all the time. Sooner or later, you just have to realize, okay, this ain't gonna work. It's time for a breakup. It's not you, it's me, and end the relationship. And people in these countries don't want to acknowledge that.
Well, I agree, Alan. Would you, to an extent, if we're looking at throughout history, it's not, you guys know that I don't personally have a problem with Jews, but even like Christians' history with the Jews, I would say, and of course Jews are different because it's not a proselytizing religion, and their numbers are pretty small, but I would say like our history with Jews, it's just like they flourish, and they'll often do like way better than Christians in many of these blips in history, but then they also are like demonized and we don't get along with them, and sometimes we do really mean shit to them, like, which is kind of a precarious situation for Jews, because it's like, what do they do? They're such a small minority, like, where do they go? How do they navigate the world where they can't, they don't have the numbers or like a place that can be a quote-unquote safe place other than a small little country like Israel.
Yeah, which is why I'm grateful that we have a regional superpower. But then as of when we had our 12 day, like, honestly, it's like the leftists and the fucking jihadists or whatever that want to come after Jews, it's like, you can't fuck with us anymore. That's like the greatest feeling in the world. Do you think that Jews could feel that way in like fucking 1928?
Well, I'd say this, the unfortunate reality for Jews is just like, imagine there were like populist movements all over Europe, the USA, everybody in war because say that fuck Israel, our military, they just be very. I understand it's an option, but I mean, Jews would be genocided, literally. Their safety, because of how small they are in numbers, it does rely upon their ties in the international community. The countries that are powerful, and to be quite frank, you have to be when you're like, Jews are like 0.02% of the population.
If you do the chicken feed where it's like remember your ancestors, but it's like Andrew Tate driving. As a whole, you can barely even see Israel. It's like tiny. That's like the situation.
I guess
it's rabid.
No, I get it. And I guess my reality, or not my reality, I guess
do the chicken feed.
This
is a revolution. I think
Jews are kind of like in a precarious position because they have not been treated the best by anybody, really. If you're to go back centuries, just they have their nice the moments in time where they're treated very well, but then they're also treated very poorly. It's just it's if I was gonna look at like long-term survival of Jews, that's like very tricky because I'm not gonna say I don't mean this in a mean way, but I don't think Jews are
Okay,
natural
trigger warning,
allies
this
to
is a very
Christians, because
upsetting
otherwise
thing.
Christians would have and Jews would have always gotten along, which was not the case. Where Jews have wherever Jews have been in proximity to Christians, the Christians have always outnumbered them and had the majority of the power.
Another whiskey, please.
And
Cheers.
Well, I mean,
it's always been very spotty.
I'm not
in terms of how we got along.
spokesperson for this app, so I'm probably aiming for that. So like, yeah, Christians and Jews have not gotten along every point in time. But what I would say is that if you go down to like philosophical sense of like what are your morals, what would be considered to be more. No, like I'm talking about like the physical region of Israel versus any of the countries that
Sure, Jews are I would say, religiously, in terms of. I don't know that much about Judaism except for what I've.
This phone call they made for me for us.
No, I get it.
Tell me again.
No, I get it.
Just leave it back, son. You didn't do that.
Obviously, Israel is far more similar to Europe or the United States than any other place in the Middle East. We all agree on that.
What did it cost?
I'm a lunatic.
What do you mean?
It cost the Abraham Accords.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if you look at the Abraham Accords, right? So you have Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, we have friends down there. You look at Abu Dhabi, you look at a bunch of different other countries that are signing treaties that like become trading partners with Israel. That tiny fucking little part of land, right?
This phone call they made for me.
You're looking at that and you're going like, what the fuck is going on with that? Why? Why is that really so important? And the reason why I say is because I think that Israel and the Zionists, or whatever you want to call them, because I'm a Zionist.
Like a train hitting each other. I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Just like ethnically Jewish. I just think that they're more moral than the rest of the region. They're less fucking troglodyte than the rest of that region. So you have other Middle Eastern regions that want to trade.
Emerged as a regional superpower, but then as
It's not because of the Jews. It's
emerged as a regional.
Like,
And we're at
it's because
610. I want to do
everybody
$1 today. Roboto shop. Thomas Massey.
I mean, because you're surrounded by oil fields and gas fields and amazing things that can bring you lots of money. Instead of, well, let's look at our religious backgrounds and fucking fight each other. Like, you realize that, like, for example, the Gaza Strip, it turns out there's a massive gas reserve under there, right? You realize that in 2005, when Israel cut off all contact to the Gaza Strip, they could have gotten people in, found that gas, the Palestinians. You realize that, right?
It's under international law, it's still considered.
They knew that there were fucking huge gas reserves
Well, to be fair, though, like even there's like the Gazans are given they can't go like 5 miles out to sea or some shit. Like they're not.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah.
The blockade decimated.
Do you know what though? Do you know what that's okay? Do you know what? I agree. I don't think that it was totally right, but they're gonna get away to navigate this way, especially now we look at gas reserves where they could have created a multi-billion-dollar and it wouldn't have even been that hard. It's not that hard to fucking drill for gas. Honestly, it's really not. Could have fucking shipped it into Iran. Iran would have if it was that important, they would have made it happen. So like, I don't understand this entire point of like, oh yeah, they were, completely cut off and they couldn't do anything. No, they were the most gifted people by like fucking. They made $45 billion in fucking international. Like, fine. Israel has become a bit of an economy, and they're doing very well. With a large group of people, but I mean, that looked at what they were doing. Irrational. They were like, oh yeah. I kind of agree with those people.
That's not necessarily what started.
Black people.
That's not how it started.
Have you ever had a personal relationship
What the fuck is his name? Sacha Baron Cohen did this movie. It was based on reality. It had to do with the Mossad agent that was he infiltrated the Syrian government. He was communicating with Israel, using some radio frequency. I forget. I watched this years ago, and basically the Russians were there with the Syrians trying to like geolocate where the frequency was coming from. They ended up finding them, and they ended up executing them. You can look up like Mossad agent executed in Syria.
Just bought the shit. And the tear just exploded. Just absolutely exploded.
Where Israel was like invaluable to us, up until like, especially 35 years ago, was they sided with us. They were not under Soviet influence like like their surrounding neighbors, and so and of course if you look at like the piece of land that they have, I mean, it was pretty.
Emerged as a regional superpower. When we had our 12-day war, because before that, we were fighting proxy wars. So if you go all the way back to the period after Israel declared independence and then kicks the ass of those nations and tried to wipe us out, it became a proxy war. In the Cold War, meaning the United States was behind Israel to keep things going to Western power in the conflict, and Russia,
personally, and I don't want the Zionists to get mad at me and shoot me. Like it looks like they. To be fair, they were spying on Israel when they got attacked. The USS Liberty attack.
Marshall was so
probably did it intentionally, but once again, I don't have a super strong stance on that. There's no way I can fucking prove it.
My personal take on things is that people are too hung up on historical things these days, and I kind of find it retarded.
Well, I'm not hung up on it, but I'm not. No, it happened in the late 1960s, but I'm not hung up on that.
History doesn't matter anymore, so. But these are the same people that can't stop talking about.
I don't think you should throw out all history, but like the obsession with history actually makes you guys like focus on something that isn't relevant to like today's world.
Well, I do think that, and this is like, okay, so when it comes to the amount of like espionage Israel would do, like our telecom system, they were basically able to like tap into telephones. It was crazy how much they infiltrated the United States up until 1911, or I'm sorry, 9/11. Jesus Christ, sorry, I was reading something. up until 9/11, and they ended up arresting, I believe, like a couple hundred Israelis, and sending them back, you know, because they were looked at as being, you know, spies. They, there is like an existential crisis, I believe the Israelis in particular felt that is in a way like real. I mean, these are a super small global minority, and they have, it's like, how do they navigate the world? I don't know. It's like people, I get annoyed at the fact that they have like APAC and all of this shit. But if I was trying to just like, I don't know, at least assure the survival of my people at a minimum, I would have to like, I would really have to go out of my way to, I don't know, do things that other groups of people wouldn't do. Like, I don't know, have groups like APAC. Like, how do they?
To be fair though, so how many Israelis got arrested again? A couple hundred?
Something in total, I don't know if it was arrested, it was detained, because you have to understand these are foreigners. So I don't.
Yeah, of course.
So being detained is different than being arrested. So that, you know, but a lot of them were sent back. I don't know, but when it comes to our telecom, I'm like, yeah, they absolutely.
I mean, what do you think
infiltrated that in the
happened?
90s.
What do you think happened to the rest of the diplomats in like that entire region?
In which region?
That the whole Middle Eastern region.
During 9/11?
Yeah, so a few hundred Israelis got sent back.
Okay, I mean, if I'm just being realistic,
I'm just talking about like there was a war.
Sure. But if I'm being realistic, the Israelis have, you know, quite a bit of smart people. These other countries, even Saudi Arabia with all their money, and they're not known for being, you know,
they're trying to make it attractive for Westerners to like come to them.
Yeah, but they're not known for being like. I'll just say this: especially the Ashkenazi Jewish population seems to have some very intelligent, crafty people, and they're able to, you know, they're kind of a force to reckon with. And so, do I think any of the other groups in the Middle East are even closely as capable as them? No, not even. Like the other groups in the Middle East aren't even capable of competing with Europeans in general.
I mean, we are a force to be reckoned with, I guess. But with that being said, I don't know. No. I look at it as I think that 9/11 was somewhat of an inside job. I don't think it involved Jews, though. I think actually it involved
a full confession tape of them.
Yeah, I don't think it involved Jews either. I really disagree. No, I've seen. Yeah, I can hear you, but we debated this, and I completely.
Let me ask you one question. You gonna join my room next month?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I'll try it.
It's gonna be like 4 or 5 hours. We're gonna go from 8.
You're gonna lose your hair, Pepe.
How do you explain like Odito? It's like the app they use to you know, warn Jews that were working at the World Trade Center not to go, or like the Israelis that were
that turned out to be completely debunked. By the way, that never happened.
Never happened.
No, it completely debunked.
And the Israelis
that never happened. So 3,000 Jews that didn't show up to the World Trade Center on 9/11.
It's not 3,000. I don't think it's 3,000. But
no, it was 3,000.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna grok this right now. Okay, because I'm gonna close the room in a minute, and I'm willing to bet. Let me look up grok. what percentage of the people killed on 9/11 were Jewish?
How are you gonna do
Just
that?
because of the hold on. Just because of the location, I promise you that disproportionate a number of these people were going to be Jewish. Number one, because of which building they were working in, because of which city it is, because of the level of education that Jews tend to have in comparison to other Americans. I'm willing to bet the percentage of people killed on 9/11 was disproportionately Jewish. Would you disagree?
The second highest population in the world where those people live.
It's New York City, obviously.
Well, it's maybe
Oh,
not.
there we go.
Yes, listen.
I've been to the memorial, and I've seen Jewish names.
Like the new finance and stuff like that. I don't know.
Can you speak with a little bit more testosterone in your voice? Thank you.
What about the agents that were working? What about the agents that were working for this sketchy urban moving company?
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you what. Okay, I'll tell you what. Go to I believe it's the Highway and Transportation Safety. I forget what. Just if you look at their most wanted, you'll get like 10 pages of like 95+% of these people are Jewish. Now, for whatever reason, there were Israeli individuals that had moved to the United States. They would have these moving companies, and what they would do is he would ask for a quote, and they'd say, well, to move from here to there with that amount of shit, okay, $3,000. And then, all of a sudden, it'd be like, nope, it costs way more now, and we can't deliver your shit until you give us another $3,000. It was basically, these guys were absolute pieces of shit. That's why they're wanted. So they did, for whatever reason, there were Israeli criminals that came over here and they did this scam. Now, when it comes to these individuals, okay, you get a woman, this is an Asian woman who she did not have an American accent. She called 911. She thought they looked suspicious.
What looks suspicious for people that always...
They seemed like they were celebrating, the attack of the Twin Towers.
You're missing a very important element.
What is the important element?
That they had camcorders and they were recording the event.
Yeah. Okay, but I had a camcorder like.
Were you jumping?
Fuck, like 6 years before that.
Were you jumping up and down, high-fiving whoever was with you as if you won the lottery? If you would see the second plane coming in? I should say drone, but we can do that on the...
Yeah, if the Jews wanted to hide this shit and make sure that it was covered up, they definitely wouldn't be high-fiving each other. You can actually look at what happened in Palestine, for example. Let me finish my point.
We're talking about
because you could talk about Palestine on September 11th on that day, and you could see that there were celebrations that were on
But no, he is bringing up a good point, because like, if I was caught up in my hold on, but Ludwig, if I was like caught up in my spycraft and I wanted to be a good little spy, the last thing I would do is be on foreign soil, high-fiving and laughing, saying like, oh, yes. I would literally just want to go unnoticed and not draw attention to myself.
Can I finish the story for like 59 seconds? So after this lady made the call from New Jersey, police traced his car down and pulled the car over. Turned out to be that out of those 5 individuals were actually Mossad agents. How do we know this? They were kept in custody because, the suspicious act of like the camcorder, right, jumping up and down, celebrating, turned out to be Mossad agents. 2 of them, they got all 5 of them got arrested.
They did not confirm they were Mossad agents.
The master has mastered nature, not in a sense of conquering it,
the police station, right? They The master has mastered nature. And 2 out of those 5 individuals turned out to be.
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big content creator one day, but I have no supporters. Please don't scroll.
Being in custody, a phone call came in. Release them right now. They got released. Charge, no nothing, right? Being sent back home with the next plane back to Israel. Now here comes the craziest part. A certain period afterwards on national Israeli news, those men were invited. Everyday talk show like Jimmy Kimmel, whatever the fuck it was like. And those 2 Mossad agents literally said, and we have quite a few Jews living in Amsterdam, so I gotta read everything. I'm almost done. I know you gotta say it because you wanna like talk shit about Muslims all day. So those 2 individuals sitting with their faces just normally not blurred, no nothing, right? They're literally saying, we were sent there to record the event. End of discussion. And there is so much more, Pastor Pepe. There is so incredibly much more evidence and proof that without any possible doubt, you can say with a full 100% that this was an Israeli operation. And I'm going to elaborate almost, and I'm going to elaborate. I'm almost done. Jewen, I'm almost done. Okay.
It's on TV.
And I'm going to reveal all the receipts with all the proof, not just theories, no, all the proof who was all behind it. So I'm cool with like who wants to deny it now, at least have the character to join my room next month in, I don't have to mention which day.
You also thought that you should look into the Israeli spy ring in Florida, the Israeli art students in Florida, harassing FBI agent.
Yes, but back in 2001, when the attacks first took place, that was one of the things that was brought up that I absolutely ended up reading about, and it was reported on the news at the time. They did. So these art students that were quote unquote said, "God damn it, Ludwig here, Mike." They ended up selling. They were quote unquote trying to sell their art in federal government buildings. That's how they were getting access to them and so forth. I mean, do I think Israel was conducting espionage against the United States at the time? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so there you have already something that's very alarming, right? When you say like art students getting access, right? You should look into like which floors they had access to of the Twin Towers. It was precisely the floors where the drones, and you're gonna laugh because I'm saying drones, and I'm gonna elaborate that in the next month. Right? I'm gonna explain to you why those were not planes, but those were drones. Right? It was exactly where the drones slammed into the buildings. Right? Mind you, that on the 10th of September, 2001, right, the elevator company that was doing all the maintenance of the Twin Towers, miraculously just one day prior to it, filed for bankruptcy, disappeared. The documentation was all fraud. They never traced down who had
This is getting retarded. So I think that wait.
You're interrupting.
Let me say, I think that 9/11 was like a fucking sketch.
Well, hold on.
Ludwig
I'll let
is
you go.
saying stupid shit.
I know. Okay, you can
Give another example.
you can
Like
take that
obviously
when I finish and then you.
And so it's not only then if you look into this messaging Odigo, right? And those exactly the people that literally said, and I gotta say, we have quite a few Jews living in Amsterdam, not that I give a fuck, but it's a different story. They actually did get messages not to show up at work that day.
During what?
It's not.
No evidence.
child who wasn't in that day. You have Larry Silverstein and his 2 kids who were there every day. If they weren't there,
That was comical. He had to go to the dermatologist, remember?
yeah.
He literally had a
Look,
and not to forget when I right now, of course, almost after 25 years, I know exactly how to say it, right? When he had like a phone call coming, I'm almost like Julian, press the button. You got so many buttons in front of you. Act interesting. And exactly on that, on the day itself, right? When the Twin Towers had already collapsed many hours later, right? This Larry Silverstein is literally saying on an interview that he had a phone call from the firefighter chief, right? Whatever he was. We had such a terrible loss of life. We decided to pull it. Right? Pulling it means literally pulling, like pressing the button, bringing the building down, right? Do you know how many months it takes to prepare a building of that size, right? 47 floors, the Solomon Brothers building, building 7, right? To prepare that, to bring that down, right? In exactly the way we saw, which was like controlled demolition. So there's not even a question that the United Snakes of Gay was involved in it. They were, and they did that hand in hand with Israel.
God damn it, my Jewish handler said I have to shut this down. Guys, I do not want to be brought to a black site. Excuse me, I'm sorry, these Jews have me so flustered. I do not want to be brought to a black site, so I have to shut it down. Ow, Rabbi, stop! Ow! Ow, stop!
Cities, blue cities, black people, that's it. They found something that stuck. And now we're talking about it. And now we got black people. It's amazing to me. And I'm reading the chat, and it's amazing, Queen.
Gaucher is when they would do the most land grabs. They would steal the most land and put up the most settlements. And this, so I can't imagine what they would do if there was full normalization and Palestinians were not included. What happened in Gaza would have happened to the entirety of the West Bank. It would have had to. There's nowhere else to. There's no other equation where Israel would be able to have, normalized relations. And when they say normalized relations, they're meaning goods are going back and forth between Israel and the Gulf countries. This is what normalized relations means. It's very profitable for all parties. But knowing this, is there an equation where there's normalized relations, so there's no reason to keep the Palestinians around, and the Palestinians would be in the way of making a lot of money with the Gulf states? This is why I believe the resistance was necessary.
But why can't the PA be involved in that? They're like legitimate. They've managed to support Hamas for 20 years. Like, why can't they be part of this economic growth situation?
So the PA is so extremely corrupt that they have single-digit support in the West Bank. They're extremely corrupt, and
what about this hypothetical reform PA that everyone talks about?
That means no PA. Reform PA means there won't be a PA, which is fine, and I think Mahmoud Abbas recognizes this, because now that's been strategically placed on as a condition. Elections means no PA, no Hamas. People are not going to vote for the old guard anyways. Hamas already said multiple times, including in writing from the last ceasefire agreement, that they will not be a part of the government. They invite a board, a technocratic interim government, to be formed not from Gaza, but from all of Palestinian society. They are not looking to be on the board or lead it. I think they said they wanted one position temporarily, but not a leading position.
Do you believe them? Do you see them as genuine in this?
Yes, because in the 2010s, they've tried to get the PA to come in and administer and be the government in Gaza. The Al-Qassam, which is the resistance, they did not
went
want
from
to
pushing
leave.
people off buildings to wanting them to rule. There's so much.
Yeah, this was pushing people off of buildings. If you read, this is mainstream media, not conspiracy theory. Bush had sent over after Hamas won because they were so corrupt. I mean, they built a casino in Jericho. They were stealing money from the Palestinian people. Keep in mind, the PA and Arafat were thrust upon the Palestinians. We did not ask for them. We did not. We welcomed them.
But did you guys ask, like, I don't know if you're, like, I feel like Gazans now feel like Hamas is to blame for their ruin. Like, there's literally, like, it's, not that it's their fault that Israel.
Where did you get that from?
So, I don't know, I just see maybe my social media algorithms are warped, but it does seem like a lot of Gazans are fed up with Hamas and blame them for the destruction of Gaza. Like, even though obviously the Israeli government is the one that dropped the bombs, they feel like Hamas miscalculated with October 7. Now, literally, that even though it wasn't ideal, what is flattened to the ground.
Like, can you show us an example of what your algorithm shows you about people?
So I just see people in Gaza like cursing out Hamas, like saying we're done.
Yeah, Hamas. You have to remember.
No, not even mass protests. Just people just being like after an attack, like what the fuck, like Hamas, like why did you do this to us? Are you keeping hostages in our neighborhoods? Are you putting us in danger? Like they just feel like they're being used.
I social media. I don't really use it. Shut the fuck up, you fake rabbit. Shut up, it down. Come on, fool. Okay. So you are a dumbass. So actually, you're saying there's people in Gaza that are not protesting. There's people in Gaza not protesting. So the only protest that happened. You can't even accept that Gaza people.
Do you see individuals? Do you see individuals? It might be anecdotal. But do you see individuals that are cursing out Hamas?
No. I'm just reading. As people themselves and I never really came across a video or a post that says people themselves are against Hamas. Of course they are, you dumbass.
I'll share some.
Show me your.
Stop. Wait, Abba Baida, can I share? Hold on, Abba Baida, can I just share? And you guys can go back and talk about I want to dominate.
I don't with you. Like
You're fake. Hold on.
Check your back channel.
Hold on. Why are we devolving into this? Hamas. We are using the word Hamas here. Before October 7th, Hamas ruled very loosely. People were not, Hamas had their sort of political base, but it was one of multiple political bases. And as a matter of fact, Fatah had a political base in Gaza. So criticism of Hamas was before October 7th and continued after October 7th, which is natural if you have multiple political.
They had the We Want to Live campaign, the We Want to Live protests that ended up with brutal suppression of Hamas, right?
I wouldn't say that they were. They were last year. I think the end of last year, they had people filming these protests. They were very small, and I think they were aimed more at the Israelis saying that we want to live, and saying, okay, if it's Hamas, then we reject Hamas. Now stop killing us. That was the point of those campaigns, that We Want to Live campaigns. But the We Want to Live was a planned out, structured. I don't want to call it propaganda, because people do feel this way, that the war should be over, but they also know
you know, in black and white, like they know for certainty because everybody sees it, not just in Gaza, but in Israel. They see the obstacle is not Hamas, but is Netanyahu. I mean, keep in mind, Hamas accepted.
I think that, you know, when Hamas are filling each other's, they're aligned in their interests, right? Both want the war continue and they're.
No, Hamas signed an expired, which they abided by. And the way that Israel broke it, they decided to break it, is to bomb tents.
Let's be honest, both parties are
acting in bad faith. You have to. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking you how is it, what can you point to that tells you, okay, Hamas is acting in bad faith?
Well, so why are they hiding underground while civilians are dying and then saying, yes, it's worth the risk? The civilians don't approve of this. I said it's like 16, I can keep adding, but there's like dozens and dozens of links from my social media feed of Hamasniks saying Hamas ruined our culture. Fuck you guys.
So when Israel killed the leader of the resistance itself, Sinwar, where was he? Was he hiding? He wasn't hiding.
Right, so that's an argument they make, but he didn't. That was, yeah, so that's one narrative of the video that came out of him.
No. Where was he? He was actually, I don't know if you got the story. He was in the south, Rafah area. I don't think he was in Rafah, but he was literally fighting for most of his time, and especially for, at that time, days. And he was fighting the Israelis along with his squad or team, whatever you want to call them.
One second. You read
and it's not just him.
And the links that you sent, you know, the person that is speaking or the people that are speaking against Hamas are the ones who suffered or had a family member that was killed, and the rest of the crowd is silent. Did you notice that?
There were also protests where it was like a group of people, but like I said, it was anecdotal.
Did you notice?
I did. Listen, I know that's why I called it anecdotal. It's anecdotal, but like it does seem like there is opposition to Hamas in the Gaza Strip. That's what I'm saying. Because anecdotal only says it's individuals, right? But I do see small protests and individuals cursing Hamas very publicly at their own.
But that was happening before because you have, remember, and that's why I said this to you at the beginning. We are using the word Hamas to describe the resistance. However, the resistance encompasses a myriad of political parties. So a lot of them are against Hamas. Have always been.
Is this cannon fodder? Like, you think they like to be cannon fodder for the Hamas cause, for the Palestinians? They just want to fucking survive, right? They're fucking kids. They want to survive. Why would they want to be
Hamas
cannon
is not
fodder?
killing them. Who's killing them?
Israel's killing them, but they know they're dealing with a genocidal maniac, which is Bibi Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition, so why would they continue to provoke them?
So what do you suggest?
Because October 7 was a huge provocation. It was a major escalation of what happened.
And what happened, I think you said this before, that to exchange hostages for Palestinian hostages.
This is true.
In October.
Yes, but October 7 was a huge provocation. Let's be real here.
3 times they offered it.
Edward, you don't think October 7 was unjustified?
All the hostages and come to an agreement.
No, I'm not saying that. I have my own theories of what happened on October 7th. We don't have to get into that. And these are only my theories and not facts. But what is fact is when October 7th did happen, Sinwar told the hostages, and the hostages repeated this, the ones that were released, that you're only going to be here for a few days.
Yeah, I did read all that, and I did see the recent report in Israeli media that showed that Hamas had offered to release them, and Israeli government wasn't receptive because they were so bent on revenge, right? There was a new TV.
Yeah. So why would Hamas So Hamas went in, they captured the soldiers, they went back, they captured, they went, and the area was nobody was securing the area for over 6 hours on the Israeli side. Hamas had already left the area, and we're now going, going to the military.
What was Hamas's goal? Because I'm very confused about their goal. I had that one article I float around that everyone thinks is just hearsay, which is fine. Maybe it is. But then, what is their goal with invading Israel in this manner?
The goal in this specific case was Hamas understands, Palestinians understand that in Israeli society, a soldier that's captured is worth way more than a civilian that's captured. Way more. So Hamas was going after these small intel bases in Israel, which they did get to, and they captured the soldiers in them, along with the servers that housed intelligence about Gaza, and they took it all back to, including the soldiers, and these are all soldiers, back into Gaza. And
I disagree. I think Israel's been willing to pay a lot more for civilians.
No, it's not the historical.
Then why did they make all these compromises to release civilians?
Okay, if you look at the last ceasefire agreement, soldiers are worth more on paper than civilians.
Yeah, but they only look vulnerable. They only let kids out, and the whole.
Yeah, well, soldiers are worth more than kids.
Buttercup, do you know how many Palestinians were released for Gilad Shalit?
Yes.
Is that the one soldier that had over 1,000?
1,024.
Hold on. Same.
That's usually 600 is sort of one.
So basically, 1,000 Palestinian lives.
Oh no, it's not even that. It's the fact that the civilians in the ceasefire agreement, and you could look at the last ceasefire agreement, Buttercup, and see the ratios. The ratios for civilians were lower than the ratios for soldiers, to exchange soldiers.
But because of political will, they're willing to let soldiers rot for a lot longer than civilians.
Well, no, you could say that, but if you go back to other similar situations with Hamas, when they captured a soldier, and when
That's what it is about Israel. It means Hamas is willing to release them for less. That says more about Hamas than it does about Israel. Israel is willing to make more compromises for children and elderly and women than it is for the male soldiers. But it says more about Hamas that it's willing to release.
Well, compromise, because a compromise, I would buy that argument, okay? But you would have to show me that the compromises for women and children is different than the compromises for the
Who decides what the price is? It's Hamas ultimately, right?
It's a negotiation, but it's.
But they're holding the cards. They're holding the hostages, and they get to say yes or no.
Lebanon, Hezbollah did the same thing with soldiers. What I'm saying is Hamas, in their interest, would want to capture soldiers, not civilians. So the fact that they did have civilians and they didn't know where
it's so casual. Like they just had babies among them. Like there wasn't.
No, that's what I'm saying. So they captured soldiers.
They accidentally capture fucking babies that scream all.
No. They captured soldiers. They went back into Gaza, and then they realized that they had civilians among them.
You realize a fucking baby was among them? That's so garbage.
The soldiers.
Have you ever met a baby?
Hamas. Buttercup. When they
were a toddler, they're not subtle, okay?
Got it. But were they with Hamas? That's the thing.
So you're saying it was the civilians that accidentally captured fucking babies that scream their asses off all the time?
So that whole area was empty.
Have you met a toddler?
It's not casual.
Thank you.
It wasn't casual. Hamas went in. They did what they had to do. Now, if Hamas was out there to kill and massacre people, they could have done. There were thousands of people, and they had complete control over the situation for hours. They could have done so, but didn't. They moved on to get those soldiers, and they went back. Now, when they got back, they did have civilians, not Hamas, the people that went to capture the soldiers, but the civilians did end up in Gaza. How they ended up there now? That is the question.
It's a big question.
Yes, the area was.
Who accidentally didn't notice that a toddler was
It's not that they didn't notice, they were grabbed on, they were grabbed.
I don't think you explained it to her right. The people who took the soldier were Hamas. The ones who took the civilians were not part of Hamas.
And they immediately handed them over to Hamas. So what did Hamas do? There are certain ones that they released immediately, those 2 Americans.
No, that's not true, Buttercup. They did not.
There was multiple gangs, Buttercup, that did what they did.
Which gangs took the babies?
So look, there's PIJ, there's other Al-Qassam brigades.
There's not gangs. No.
Break it down. There was
gangs
several
are
babies that
other
were
than
taken.
the
There was
gangs.
a dozen babies.
I heard there was a data, there was about 3,000 or 4,000 actually jumped in, and there was different gangs. And do you know that some of them were civilians, by the way?
Yes, civilians, and I think
this.
Are also culpable. So maybe don't reinforce.
Well, so there were gangs. So there are gangs in Gaza. It's not this like Hamas rules with an iron fist and there's nothing there. There's organized crime from the Sinai leading through Gaza into the Negev desert in Israel. Now, were there other parties there? The issue that I have here is that first, Hamas did not know where the civilians were. Why would they not know if they planned this whole operation? And if it was their well-trained, well-disciplined people that went in and did their job, and then all of a sudden, we have civilians. Where? Who has them? They're all over the place. They're with this clan.
I think it's pretty clear they didn't anticipate the rave that was in the middle.
Well, no, that's true. They didn't. But Hamas did not stop. When they broke through, they were shooting, at soldiers who ran into the rave, and into the kibbutzes, and were shooting from there and then shooting at them. But they ran through and went and did their mission, got the soldiers, and came back through. Now, keep in mind, over 6 hours, this whole area, not a single SDF, no forces, no police, no nothing. So it's completely open. Who went in? All we could say is, at this point, because we don't know, we have to wait until the war is over, but we can say this, that Netanyahu funds and has a relationship with one of an ISIS affiliated group that was locked up in by Hamas for drug trafficking and human trafficking, released and given uniforms and weapons by Netanyahu. That's not me saying this. That's Netanyahu saying this. That's Victor Lieberman, who broke the story that said this. So they had an ongoing relationship with ISIS-backed, what they called jihadists.
What happened to those babies?
Abu, there was about 30 kids that were taken hostage by Hamas.
What happened to them yet?
30 kids.
They were returned.
They were interned in hostage deals.
Wait. There were 30 kids. Where do you get 30 kids?
I was going back to her to ask her to send something that said.
There's no 30 kids.
Where did you get the 30 kids from, Miss Buttercup?
There was a couple of children, but 30. Unless you're counting anybody under 18, maybe. I don't know what the makeup was, but.
I don't know where the 30 came from. This is my first time hearing.
No, bro. She's talking about Sherry, the 2 kids of Sherry. So I remember that video when Hamas released it. They went and they want to take Sherry. They don't want her kids. I don't know if you guys saw that video. I will look it up. But she begged them to take her baby. She asked them, I will not go with you without my baby. So that's her choice. They don't want to take the baby.
What's the source that she begged them to take her baby hostage? Provide a source.
He's on video. Yeah, look up the video.
Sherry, her name, I think Sherry. She's a redhead, and she was crying. She said, no.
Sherry, the famous Kfir and the 2 redhead boys.
Yes.
Where's the source that she begged them to take her kids hostage?
Not hostage, she wanna keep them with her.
Brother, she's asking where's the video that
I have to look it up. Yeah, but it was only 2 kids. And if you know.
There was a toddler that was released, the 4-year-old. There was a bunch of like smaller children, girls that were filmed by Hamas with hostage videos. There was a bunch of teenagers. What are you talking about? There was a kid that was held in
where's
Can I ask a question?
Where's your source? 30 children. Where did you get? Where's your source?
I'll provide a link, okay?
Yes.
I have a question. So, I mean, obviously you dislike Hamas, but do you understand that it's not a vacuum? That the reason why Hamas was
100%.
created
I just don't think they're serving the Palestinian cause, and I support the Palestinian cause. I want them to have a state and independence.
Right. So they said they're not going to be part of the Palestinian state. They don't want anything to do with it. They said this a couple of times. They're just resistance. This is a bunch of young 21-year-old boys who are orphaned who went and decided to be part of Hamas because Israel killed their parents.
Right. The members of Hamas, I don't blame them for joining, but I'm talking about the leadership and their larger plans. Let's be honest about it. But were you calling me a bitch or someone else?
I mean, I'm calling someone else, but if you want me to call you a bitch, I have no issues doing that, to be honest with you.
Why?
I don't think you understand.
Can't you see in the chat that I'm talking to someone else?
Yeah, Buttercup, I don't think you're really in any place to criticize Hamas, with all due respect.
I'm not criticizing Hamas. I just know Palestinians who oppose Hamas. That's all.
You know, there's a guy who used to hang out in these rooms. His name was Philip. And when people would come in,
Honest, true. You're breaking character right now.
when people would come in with these critiques, I'm not breaking character. I'm still an honest Jew. I'm just remembering the old rooms. Philip would say, if you have access to Israel, pick up a goddamn sledgehammer and go break down the fucking wall. If you support Palestine, leave Hamas alone. Nobody gives a shit what you think about it. That's what Philip was.
Did you say Ichabod?
Yeah, what's the thing? If a person is starving and they finally get food, you don't worry about their dining habits. You feed them. Worry about the dining habits later.
And you know, another interesting thing too is, to critique what kind of hostages Hamas and the Palestinians took. We could all do a mental exercise right now, okay? Let's pretend you're in Texas, okay, or Louisiana. And let's pretend the Venezuelan army comes in and they start occupying parts of America. They're around you, all right? And you're an American, all right? Are you gonna, and then Venezuela puts kids and civilians on the front line of the occupation, and you're getting slaughtered, massacred, raped, starved, etc., as Palestinians have been doing for 100 years. Are you gonna differentiate between their civilians and soldiers? You're gonna stalk these people and do whatever you can to get them to go away.
Okay, so now we're endorsing killing of civilians and
If we're in America, listen, if we are in America,
then we should not have an opinion about it.
someone comes and invades us, and some occupying power puts their civilians on the front line.
Okay, then let's at least be real about it, that we support taking upon civilian hostages.
No, we don't support it. But let me ask you this question. What's your definition of a hostage?
So I agree that, listen, if they're military members, that's one thing, but taking of children is very hard to justify. Same with the Israeli government, who takes Palestinian teenagers who throw rocks.
And I don't agree with this, by the way, but I'm not a Hamas supporter per se. I don't believe in the ideology, but I support the resistance. So I just want to make that clear.
So I'm trying to understand that nuance. I think you're trying to express a nuance here in Edward that I don't fully understand, because Hamas has brought ruin onto the Palestinian people. A lot of Palestinians I know see them as a blight on society. They want, a more pragmatic approach.
Buttercup,
So I'm curious what the
could be your
nuance is.
algorithm. That could be your algorithm that's so.
I mean, it's not 1 or 2 or 3 videos. There's a lot of people and my close friends who I hang out with all the time.
Okay, I want to answer
a lot of
this.
videos. Hold on, Edward. Hold on.
Well, she was talking to me, so I'm going to answer her real quick, and then you can answer.
Word it edgewise when you're.
Yeah, no, of course. You can talk definitely after I say that, and I'll be quick. Uh, Buttercup, your question again, sorry.
So yeah, I was curious about this nuance. You draw a like a distinction.
Oh.
I just know a lot of Palestinians personally, and all the videos I shared of people who are fed up with Hamas and how they set back the Palestinian cause.
So you're saying set back the Palestinian cause. You know, it depends on how you look at the war. Is Hamas looking at the war from the ground, where they know that they can't, they can't strategically win on the ground? They don't have air defense systems. Or where are they fighting the war? What is their objectives? Their objectives from the beginning, because they had GoPro cams and they wanted to show the world what was happening, them breaking out. Their war was fought in cyberspace. It was fought in the hearts and minds of people around the world.
But you talk to people Palestinians on the ground, they're like, but we're not your cannon fodder. Our kids are not your cannon fodder.
They're not saying that. They are more. I can tell you this for certainty because I talk to people in Gaza. My father's wife is from Gaza. My brother and two sisters, half brother, two half sisters, are their families in Gaza, and I send them money every month. Not to them, but to those in Gaza, their families. And I can tell you, it's. They're not blaming Hamas for what Israel has done. They distinguish the difference. They're asking themselves, because they don't know on the ground. They don't know. They're asking themselves, is it worth it? Did it make a difference? Because from where we're standing, it doesn't look like it made a difference. But, they are not on the outside and have the luxury of
your relatives in Gaza think that it's helping their life is better now?
So you're looking at it as their life is better now.
They like living in tents and like suffering from this genocidal maniac government?
Their life was not good before this, and they understood.
But there's no comparison, living in houses versus living in tents.
There is a comparison. There is a difference here. You're coming at us from the position of.
I haven't seen any Gazans say, I think Hamas was right.
So. You're coming at this from the position.
Can you put one video of a Hamas saying saying Gazans saying, Hamas was looking out for us?
So Palestinians.
Why don't they look them in the tunnels? Why do they keep them above so their kids die?
Because you can't.
Why not?
You would suffocate. They're not built that way.
So the hostages survive fine. Why don't they let the kids in there?
Why do you get bunkers?
Why don't they build shelters for their own people?
Why didn't Israel attack the tunnels directly, send soldiers in there to retrieve their hostages instead of carpet bombing Gaza? Why don't we talk about that?
They did carpet bomb Gaza.
No, I know. I'm saying instead of that, if Israel really cared about their hostages, Israel wasn't giving a shit about their hostages. Why? They don't. They don't give a fuck about their own people, and they're using them for greater purposes. I've been listening in this room for the past hour that Edward's been outlining, okay? So, you Buttercup, I think the way the mental exercise you should do is you say, okay, so I don't hear anybody saying Hamas is great in Gaza. Okay, now what? So what should Hamas do? Be like, you know what? Our people don't like us. Let us lay down our weapons and let Netanyahu just force exodus us into the Sinai. What is the option?
And
we need to talk about that because you leave it like a mic drop, like they don't support them. So ... And what? This is the only resistance these people have.
Their kids are
if you want to do a mental exercise, do a mental exercise.
Suffering before.
Resistance is not worth dying. Their whole family dying.
Listen, but
How do you know they're not going to die anyway?
They would have died anyways.
Decades.
No, but they would have died
Not
anyways.
if October 7th didn't happen. They could have.
Oh yeah.
They could have made a difference.
No, Israel would have still killed, and it would have been worse. Because
Israel has they do the
You're hammering October 7th awfully hard. And what Israel has done to Gaza since October 7th is they've killed many multiples, orders of magnitude more civilians. Why
Exactly
are
my
you
point.
counting down on October 7th? Do you want to do a root cause analysis? Don't start at October 7th. Go back
Everyone
further.
agrees about
Go
the
back to
occupation is
Nakba.
horrific.
But don't leave it as a one sentence. Let's deep
But
dive into
October
that.
7 was a major escalation that caused the death of 16,000 children.
Listen, Buttercup. I don't know what your background is. I don't know if you're Jewish or
I'm
what your
an
background is.
anti-Zionist Jew, okay?
Okay. So listen to me. Here's a mental exercise you should do. Imagine exactly the reverse situation. Palestinians are empowered by Americans. Jews,
Misha, some of my best friends are Palestinian and they come for Shabbat all the time. I'm very close to them.
For 80 years, they've been fractured. Okay, how do you think the Jews would eventually have fought back? And would you, as a Jew, if this entire situation were reversed, would you also be being like, hey, on October 7th, why did you Jews fight back? Think about that a little bit. Do that mental exercise.
Over 700 actual civilians that died, which is unfortunate, and on October 7th. The rest were military.
Why was it unfortunate? Tell me why.
700 civilians died. I mean, that doesn't...
Why are you concerned about them? Who cares? It's for the cause, right?
Mitch, are you here?
No,
They sound crazy.
Okay. A lot of them actually died by IDF, not by Hamas.
Yeah, the Hannibal Directive. We got to talk about that.
You know, so...
Mowing the lawn. Let's talk about mowing the lawn. You know about mowing the lawn?
Yes, I know about mowing the lawn.
Why you only talk about October 7th?
I was protesting mowing the lawn in 2014 and 2012.
Mowing the lawn's been happening since
But the protest didn't help. What helped was October 7th. That's
You
what
think it helped?
No.
16,000 dead children is not helping.
Listen, we are now closer than ever to protecting our people forever.
At the cost of 16,000 kids.
And that's
Fuck you.
And that's the price that Israel is
That's
willing
not
to
the
have
price
us
that
pay.
you're willing to pay for
No, not
violent
us.
resistance.
We didn't do it.
No.
No, we didn't do it. Israel did this.
Zionists and ask them why are they killing the 16,000?
Yes. Why does it cost us this much for our freedom?
It's like the case of the bully.
I
It's like the case
support
of
the
the bully.
Palestinian state aspiration for a state.
We don't want your support. Why are you addressing us with all these killings? We're not killing them.
You put them in a situation with a
We
genocide.
didn't put anybody in a fucking situation.
Hold on.
They calculated. They miscalculated. That's what I'm saying.
Buttercup. I know you know you're being biased right now, right? You're being biased. And I would protect you, but you're being biased. You cannot, these are the victims. And you're saying, well, maybe it's like if a woman is being battered, right? Oh, well, you know how your husband is. You know how your husband is. And
No, it's called being long-term. Listen, Hamas is not looking out for their long-term strategic interests, just like Bibi's not looking for Israel's long-term strategic.
You fucking
Are you a military strategist?
Long-term strategic interests.
Whether you realize it or not, you're like the Diet Coke of Zionists. You still got a little Zion.
Okay, well, that's fine. I don't take it as an insult. I don't give a shit.
wait, shush. Wait, come on, you're not gonna.
I'm back. Guys, please don't abuse or we don't attack women and children. Please don't do that, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, but she came here to say I'm a Zionist.
No, I think somebody called her a B word. Please don't do that, man.
No, nobody did.
No, nobody called her.
I called her a bitch. I called her a butter.
Come on, Abu. We don't attack women and children. Come on, man.
What the fuck is she fucking?
Calm down, brother. Calm down.
Go fucking talk to the Zionists.
She does talk to the Zionists. Hold on. Let's Mayfan, you want to say something?
I want to make sure I understand Buttercup. So Buttercup, are you saying that Hamas strategies is in line with Bibi's strategies? Is knowingly or unknowingly?
100%, and knowingly, actually. There's letters between them because both of them benefit from continued violence and war. Both of them benefit have violence, the cycle of violence.
Can you just
I would say that
I'll provide a source, actually.
He communicated this.
Guys, bias. I need new voices. I gave the mic to Wave and please don't come off the mic.
Thanks, Amir. I just want to make sure. So you are saying that there are two sides, and there are crazy people in both sides, and these crazy people are resonating each other, and both, like, let's call these crazy people the right, the most extremist, fundamentalists of both sides, and they have whole power, and they are enabling each other.
Yes.
To grasp the power by, like, fueling these wars.
100%. Thank you.
Intention. Okay, so I understand you. It's not that you are, like, doing Zionist propaganda.
No. I'm sympathetic to the Palestinians more than Zionism.
I just want to say that I agree with you in a sense that there are these crazy people in Iran, which I'm originally from, and they hold the government, and they just, like, hate United States. And there are these crazy people in the United States, which they hold the power and just hate Iran, and they are fueling each other. So in that sense, I understand it, but I don't know about Palestine.
Okay, can I ask a question, please? How are you guys?
I just want to say something about Haaretz because it's in the comments. Haaretz has put starvation and genocide on the front cover every day in Israel, which is a very provocative thing to do because all the Israelis are in denial. They've all served in the army and they don't want to believe what's happening. So for Haaretz to do this, very brave. They've been maligned and smeared by the government, and so to smear Haaretz as a Zionist rag is completely inaccurate. Haaretz is at great risk to their own reputation, consistently talked about genocide and starvation in Gaza.
Can I ask the question?
Yes.
Before you ask your question, can you put the link for the 30 children that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, discuss later. If you can put that link.
Next time I hear about this 33 children, even if they killed by the Apache, and Palestinians don't have a badge. At the same time,
What's a badge?
a badge card. How many Palestinians? How many Apache? Apache. Yeah. How many prisoners or whatever Israeli prisoners in Hamas? How many they killed children, as you say? While Israelis they are killing children every day. How many Israeli children or prisoners with Hamas killed by Hamas? None. Right? Even they are feed them food more than Gaza. This is the difference between the behavior of the IDF and the behavior of what you call them terrorist Hamas. Right?
Well, we could see the videos of the Palestinians that were released from the last exchange and how emaciated and how I think one of them lost a limb and the abuses they suffered, and you contrast that with the releases of the hostages from Hamas and how they were well fed. They looked like they were well taken care of. So can we posit then the mentality, of both sides would be, would show up in the way they treat their prisoners of war or hostages. And if one side is treating them badly, then you could, I think argue that side is, has a system that is systemic in treating those, treating other people, without treating them inhumanely. So
this is the Islam, what they said for them to treat the prisoners. This is Islamic Sharia. But those Israelis, they don't have even Sharia, they don't have decent anything. They think that this is.
I would love to debate Buttercup one day in a room. Buttercup, are you still here?
Yeah, Edward, who said that, Edward?
Yes.
Edward, I really enjoy talking to you. I think you're I would love to talk to you sometime.
Thank you, and I think you're also smart, and I also think I'm amazing too. So we both are on the same page. So thank you so much. And Wednesday thinks I'm amazing too. Oh my God, I got this man. I love this.
You're so modest. You're so modest.
Chat with shows 36 kids that were kidnapped.
You see that?
Butterfly.
I posted a link in the chat with 36 kids.
Yeah, they kidnapped.
Edward is taken. Alexa is already claimed it.
Yeah, 33 kids kidnapped and returned back, feeded the good, and returned back, right?
After a month, though, you still took kids hostage for a month. It's fucked up.
That's not right.
Babies?
While they are killing every day our children.
100%. I think it's overshadowed by Israel's war crimes, and I've criticized it every day. And I get harassed by the pro-Israelis every fucking day over it. But that doesn't change the fact that Hamas did kidnap, and those other groups did kidnap 30 kids. Let's be honest, 36 kids.
Yeah, they returned them back, right?
Eventually, but you still traumatize a bunch of kids. That doesn't change the fact that like killing 60,000 kids is worse. No fucking shit. But like that doesn't change the fact that 36 kids were kidnapped. Let's be honest. We can acknowledge two truths are true at once.
Yeah,
So
but
one is
about
100 times worse than the other. That's the
Yeah, so pale in comparison. And let's not
100%.
even forget.
And I'm
let's not
more
even
worried
forget.
about Israel.
Let's not even forget the football numbers that the little kids get when they get in prison in these Israeli jails.
100%. 100%. I agree, but that doesn't change the fact. Let's be honest. You said only 2 kids were kidnapped and 36 were. Let's be honest about that. It's okay. We don't have to like lie about the number of kids in order to acknowledge the horrific actions of the Israeli government. The Israeli government is criminal. They've committed a genocide. I've said that 100 times. That doesn't change the fact that 36 kids were kidnapped.
Buttercup, I'm curious, why are you pounding this point in so hard?
Because, they just asked me to send a link and they denied, they said only 2 kids were kidnapped.
But before, like, none of us brought this up.
Yeah, they did. They literally asked me to provide a link. They said it didn't happen.
No, not bring up the link, just the fact that Israeli children were kidnapped. Why are you bringing this up?
Because you asked me to provide a link, and so I did. That's why.
No one in this room said 36 children were.
No, everyone in this room said 2 kids were
Can you
kidnapped.
please provide us a link? You said they were kidnapped.
It's literally in the comments. Read the comments, Taco.
I'm not, okay.
What are we
talking about?
I 100%. 60,000 kids is worse than 36 kids, but you asked me to provide proof, and I did.
Buttercup, how do you suggest they go about it?
It doesn't, I don't think, this is not a value judgment. This is not a judgment on character.
No. I'm not
I'm
saying
simply providing evidence that you asked me to provide.
I'll give you an example of 3 different revolutions. One, Native Americans, slavery revolt, and 3, South Africa. In order for those 3 things to make noise or have any kind of effect, I mean, we already know what happened to the Native Americans, but
that's another argument. You asked me to provide proof that they kidnapped kids.
Let me finish. For those revolutions to happen, or those revolts to happen, there has to be a fight fire with fire mentality. There has to be a match of ferociousness. It can't just be like, oh, we're kumbaya, we're gonna sit behind and hope for this peace and justice to happen to us. No, you have to fight. It's bloody.
I understand the position.
All 3 of those revolutions were bloody as fuck.
I understand. I've heard that position before. That doesn't change the fact. I wasn't arguing whether or not it was right or wrong. I was simply stating a fact. They asked me, they said that only 2 kids were kidnapped, and I said 36 were, and they asked for proof, and I provided it. I'm not saying whether it was right or wrong. There's no value judgment here, no moral judgment here. Simply providing the evidence that you asked me to provide.
Now, but before that, you were being moral. You kept like, I remember you cutting Evelyn off. But you ever thought, just thought, you ever thought that the reason why some of those children were being kidnapped is because Israel keeps on kidnapping the Palestinian children? So maybe
I agree with you. I never.
Right. So, do you ever think the reason why the Israeli kids were kidnapped is because the Palestinians are tired of their children being kidnapped? So how about you feel the same thing we feel?
Yeah, so Wednesday, exactly. This is the problem with if you're familiar with people who live in Palestine and Israel, what happens is it becomes this endless cycle. They're like, you kidnap our kids. The problem is when you commit a genocidal act or you commit a war crime, that doesn't justify another war crime. That's what ends up in a cycle of violence, and people keep dying. For people who live there, it's really, really problematic.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Can I just finish? This is the first time in a long time that they have struck back. And I don't even think they even thought it was gonna even happen. Like I think they were fucking surprised, to be honest with you. They didn't expect the raid thing to be there. It was just too perfect. Ours and the IDF and no one from Israel was there, but that's something else. My point is, this is like the first time in a long time that they have been able to stand up for themselves. You can't, like, I don't know. Violence beget violence, but you keep on punching me in the face. You keep on punching me in the face. I'm still supposed to take the punch?
No, basically,
I
the
think
question is,
are you in the toilet?
Wednesday, the issue is this.
Now, hold on. Wait, that was next. Wait, hold on. You done, Wednesday?
I am.
I'm on the toilet or anything. So Buttercup, Nat Turner had to do what he had to do in the slave revolt. He was looked at as a terrorist back then. Now he's looked at as a hero. Mandela, same thing, was looked at as a terrorist. Then he ended up becoming the president of South Africa. The American chiefs who scalped the people and killed them were looked at as terrorists and now are revered. And there's football teams named after them. You understand what I'm saying? So they had to do what they had to do, and you can't just lean on the 36 children, 40 children, 50 children, 60 children.
Well, it doesn't change it from being a crime against humanity. You cannot take children hostage.
It's a net. Oh God.
National standards are not applicable today, right? We have international law.
History is history. They had international law.
It doesn't mean you can erase international law.
During apartheid, they had international law too. It wasn't that long ago. And apartheid ended in the early 90s. It wasn't that long ago. So you gotta understand there is no justice without us. There's no peace without there being justice. There has to be justice. And
you support the kidnapping of kids. That's on the record, right?
Nobody can do that. Hold on. You're not gonna do that with me.
Well, then what are you trying to say?
You ain't doing that with me.
Be clear.
You're going in circles. I asked you, what do you want them to do? Obviously not, you idiot.
I'm asking you. You should be endorsing it.
You're seeming to ignore everything that happened. You're seeming to ignore everything that happened before
Either you
October
endorse
7th.
it or you don't.
You seem to ignore everything that happened before October 7th. You're just like Taco said, just hammering home the things that happened during and after October 7th, seemingly forgetting everything that happened before. If a bully keeps punching you in the face and saying, look what you're making me do to you, or grabs your hand and punches you in the face, look what you're making, why are you punching yourself? What is that person gonna do? They're gonna retaliate. That is the only way to win in a revolution. This is a revolt, and there has to be things done. I don't endorse any violence at all. I'm a pacifist, but I'm not gonna sit back and say that they don't have to do what they have to do to get their freedom.
1 million Algerians died to win their freedom. So I mean, unfortunately, this is how our global system.
It's called solidarity. Just learn the word solidarity. If you're really in solidarity with the Palestinian people, be in solidarity with them. Don't sit there on your throne and say, "Oh, this is crazy. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" Stand in solidarity if you're really going to be in solidarity.
The same thing. like
choose.
60,000 kids, right?
No.
So I'm
Which
against
side are you
killing
on?
and
So which
kidnapping
side are
all
you on?
kids.
So which side are you on?
I'm saying
You can-
all
you can-
kids. I'm
You
saying
can
all
stand in
kids.
solidarity.
Let me
You can
answer.
stand in solidarity and still say things are wrong. I can stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people and say things are
Let me
wrong.
speak. All kidnapping of kids is wrong. 100%. All kidnapping of kids, Palestinian or Israeli,
Do
human
you
life
stand
is equal. Equal.
solidarity
Fuck you.
with the Palestinian people? Fuck you, Hunter, bitch. Who the fuck you talking to?
No, Mazi.
Mazi, calm down, brother. Calm down, Mazi, brother. Come on.
Who the fuck you think you're talking to? I didn't curse at you once.
Mazi, think about
Mazi, relax.
All kidnapping of kids is wrong.
Are you in solidarity with the
Whose
Palestinian
life is
people?
more
Answer that
valuable?
motherfucking question.
Gee, Mazi, think about this situation. Hamas is inside Israel. October 7, inside Israel, humiliated everything they hold for their security. But not taking children, not taking women, just taking some soldiers back as hostage. Like, would it be
They would have had the moral high ground. They would have had better arguments.
think about it this situation. Don't like the point that she's raising. Think about it this way.
If they have the moral high ground, just don't kidnap kids.
You're retarded, bro. You guys realize that this person could be a fucking Zionist just here to gaslight, troll everybody. You can't trust these
Bro,
motherfuckers.
and plus,
You cannot trust them.
and plus, bro, and plus, Abu, we can, she still hasn't said that she's in solidarity. I asked her 3 times.
Amir, am I
You
invited?
you can be, I don't care what fucking Amir says. I'm talking to you. I don't care. Amir is not your lawyer. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking about you. Abu.
Then you
I
have
don't think you're a lawyer, but it's his opinion, you know. The opinion has a different opinion. We can stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people and still say, oh, I must have maybe did this wrong, did this right in our opinion, did this incorrectly. But still, if you stand in solidarity, say it. Why can't you say it?
I've only said it, Mazi. I've said million times. Mazi, have you not been paying attention? Mazi, I've literally been fighting Zionists for the last month.
We need to all calm down. We need to all calm down.
By that in 7 October, Israeli children and families. You know how many they've been killed by this helicopter Apache. Do you know that or not?
I've read about it, and I think it's a bit exaggerated by the pro-Palestinian.
Of course.
But I do think that Israel is a genocidal. Listen, I'm the first to call them.
You before killing Palestinians. Not killing Israelis before killing Palestinians.
Yes,
I'm just saying, what do you expect?
They do have a policy, yes.
It's not right that 36 kids got kidnapped, but what do you expect? What do you expect that everybody get terrorized?
This is a
Hold on,
nuance and a thin line we disagree on.
So can we just, can I just say something about this, to both Monty and Buttercup? So when it comes to the ICJ, war crimes are, on paper, they're considered equally on paper. But when it comes down to it, the war crimes from an occupier versus war crimes from the occupied, with certain constraints, but they are not weighed the same. An occupier's war crimes are weighed more heavily because they are doing it in the context of occupation, as opposed to the occupied who are committing war crimes to be able to free themselves of the occupier. So in court, so on paper they're equal, but in court, the political and moral issues come up, and Israel being an occupying force would be in a major disadvantage when it comes to the war crimes question.
Because they created that environment.
No,
because they created that environment.
Within reason, like Palestinians can't go around just killing as many Israelis as possible. I mean, it's within reason. So each case is taken and looked at when it comes to occupation, looked at separately, like uniquely. And so we can't equivocate the war crimes of Israel and the war crimes of the Palestinians as weighted the same. They're not weighted.
Can you provide evidence? Can you provide the law that says that it's weighted differently?
Well, this isn't so. The law says it's weighted the same, but it's not the law. It's the application of the ICJ over the last 60, 70 years.
Statistics.
No, it's how the ICJ has seen and has ruled on, what an occupier has done versus what the occupied has done, and they've always leaned towards.
Is there like an analysis that sums it up?
There's multiple analysis that I could see if I can find one. Yeah.
I'm curious. I want to learn. I'm curious. I didn't know there was a different application, and in my experience, I thought the law was equal on both sides. But this is new to me.
Yeah. But this isn't unique to the ICJ. Like civil proceedings here in the U.S. Like if you go to court, you could have the same laws, but the one side would be found more, let's say both sides broke it, but one side would be found more liable because of the circumstances. So
Is it because Israel created that environment?
Yeah, because of the occupation, automatically, and that's what the ICJ has ruled on before, like in South Africa, and in other cases that the occupier has more of a responsibility when it comes to war crimes, especially given the fact that they're an organized nation and can prevent war crimes, and people that do not have the same resources and are not a nation. It's more difficult for them to be able to police this type of activity, and at the same time, how are they going to fight against an occupier? So if you're occupying, it's similar to they call it the bloody hands concept, the legal concept here in the U.S. If you come into court and you're suing, but you have done things wrong or illegally in the past, then your credibility has gone down. Like your credibility is not good.
Can I just say something? I'm so sorry that they say cum jokes to you on BB. Sam, what are you doing? What are you trying to convince her? She's a grown woman. She wants to be here. She will be here. You of all people talk bad about black women because you are hateful to your own people and you don't like being a black American. You can sit several seats down, sir. Fucking weirdo.
Question for you. So, can ICJ even go after Hamas? Hamas is not a governmental entity. There is no Palestine. I thought ICJ only can go after governmental, personnel. Cannot go after non-governmental personnel. So Hamas cannot even commit a war crime because there is no government of Palestine recognized internationally. You see my point?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they can only go after states. They can't go after Hamas.
So I want to ask the mother do you think after all what happened, Palestinians have the right to defend themselves and resist? Do you think that or not?
I think, of course, the Palestinians should fight for their just right to sovereignty and their own state and their freedom of movement and rights under the law, 100%. Whether or not use violent resistance is a question.
No, just a minute. You said defend. This is what Hamas doing. From 7 October.
Yeah, but sometimes.
So I think there should be guardrails. That's all.
You think they're violent?
Hold on.
So you are not.
With guardrails, they don't have guardrails.
Guardrails.
Guardrails like don't kidnap and kill children. That's all. don't kidnap
So
and kill children.
how to fight the criminals? By criminals.
Yeah, it's not how you have the moral high ground. It's not
Yeah, you
it's
have
not
to
your
be criminal.
It's not in your long-term strategic interests.
Are you a military strategist? How do you know when it?
I say the same thing to the Israelis. It's not in their long-term
So what
strategic
is
interest to
happening
commit a
in-
genocide.
Yeah, what is happening in Gaza now? They are
100%. I tell Israelis every fucking day it's not in their long-term strategic interest to commit
Yeah,
a
but they are
genocide.
killing Israelis. Hamas now, they are killing Israelis inside Gaza. So do you agree with that?
Of course, they're defending themselves. Why would I disagree?
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the whole point.
What are they supposed to do? There's kids fucking raining
Hold
bombs.
on.
What are they supposed to do when
Hold on,
kids
hold on,
Of
hold
course
on.
they should have defense.
Hold on. Edward, didn't we? I feel like we had this conversation. You had this conversation this morning with or yesterday morning with Resistance, and Resistance said that what some of what was done on October 7th, especially taking women and children, wasn't very Islamic.
What that when they took taking civilians is not Islamic?
Women and children.
Yes, no, it wouldn't be. And that's one of my issues too, because Hamas is a religious group. They're not like ISIS. They're not like they don't just go around killing people. They do live by a strict moral code, and they, I just can't see them taking civilians. And like I said before, the economics, just economics alone, if you know a soldier is worth 25 to 50 times more than a civilian, why would you waste your time taking civilians? Just if you were pragmatic about it. And so these are the questions I have. Like, I'm not saying Hamas is innocent. I'm just saying, there's a lot of red flags that.
I heard.
But 1 second, where in Islam does it say that you can take women and children as captives in a war under strict rules and conditions?
No, you can't. Actually,
You can't. You can't take civilians.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can take them, but there are
Bring the dalil, ya brother.
You can, and there are strict rules behind it, so you can't harm them. This is a very strict rule that when you take them, you cannot harm them, but you can use them. But they need to be released. You can ransom them, and they can be used for to exchange.
Yeah, even if you take soldiers, you are not.
Where did you come up with Islam says that you can't do that? No, you can't. It's a war, right? Isn't it a war?
I might be wrong.
Isn't it a war? You can do it in a war, but again, you can't harm those non-combatants.
Yeah, they did. They haven't harmed.
Yeah, non-harming. You cannot harm non-combatants. That's definitely an Islam.
Yes, it's a very strict rule. It's not a basic rule.
21st century, the 21st century morality laws that most majority of people now accept.
Religion doesn't change, brother. Like, it doesn't matter what century.
I mean, like there are a lot of Islamic laws which are immoral right now, like for example, multiple wife or slavery and khamis. So we have to be a little more realistic, I believe.
Yeah, but
you can be a little bit more realistic, but you can't come up and say that in Islam.
Yeah, you can't change the rules, Abu. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you can change it. Yeah.
they exchanged the prisoners all. They came back safe and even feeded better than cousins.
No, I mean like think about that this Bibi is doing this genocide based on some biblical Malak, whatever it is. That's why like
Amalek.
Israel is Amalek is the most hated nation in the world right now. So, but it is based on their religion. Technically
Who's
speaking.
Amalek? Who's Amalek? Sorry.
Oh, you don't know who's Amalek? That's what Abyssinia are dying with so easily. Amalek were a tribe based on biblical texts and
Can somebody explain it in Arabic? Amalek? What is this Amalek?
No, it was a tribe that in the Old Testament, I think, where they were told to kill this tribe, men, women, children, animals, everybody, from head to toe, top to bottom. And then Netanyahu held up held up this scripture and said in a speech that we have to treat the Palestinians like Amalek, kill them all. Men, women, children, everything.
Yeah, but this Netanyahu is not even religious at all.
He's playing to the base. He's playing to the right-wing base. He's like, he was historically a moderate, not a moderate, obviously, he's like a fucking war criminal, but he wasn't like the far right messianic lunatics who want to like occupy and like settle Gaza. He was just kind of a pragmatist, and then he just aligned himself with this base. And so when he talks about Amalek, he's speaking to this religious Zionist base, which is like really extreme.
Yeah, vote for me.
Look at the definition.
Exactly.
And look at what's happening in Palestine.
It's just like the back. This is just providing you with some of the like the political backstory.
So, Abu Abaida, I wanted to correct something you said. So, when it comes to hostages, no, it's absolutely forbidden. I think what you're referring to here is after a battle, if there are women and children and elderly that are left and they're taken, then you can either set them free or ransom them.
What's the difference? What's the difference, Edward? That's the same thing.
The difference is you cannot go to take.
How do you know they went to take? Maybe they went to take.
I'm talking about the Quran. I'm not talking about what happened on the ground.
You can't have the intentions to specifically
target or take them. You can't
specifically target them.
Yeah, you fighting the soldiers. There's some people left over. You take them right in prison. Prisoners.
I don't know.
After the fact. Yes.
You cannot harm them. You cannot kill them. You cannot
treat
them. Any of that.
So I want to ask you also, Buttercup, about another question. What do you think about the Zionism going on in America, controlling the whole fucking politicals? Do you like it?
You mean the narrative, like calling everything anti-Semitism? You mean is that what you're talking about?
No. The whole United States, belong to those AIPAC or whatever.
Okay, so AIPAC is a lobbying organization which is funded by wealthy interests, including many like Jewish organizations, and they do advocate for Israel's interests above maybe like it does have immense influence over politics, and I think it's evil. I think AIPAC is evil. Is that what you're asking me? I think a lot of Jews would admit that AIPAC is evil, just like people who gun owners think NRA is evil because of our political system, which allows big interests to control our politics.
So do you think that a lot of Jews like you, they understand what's going on and they support your idea?
In my particular social circle, yes, but I would say it's a big problem. It's probably like 40, 60%. If 40% of Jews are critical of AIPAC and critical of Israel and frustrated with this dialogue, and then probably 60% still blindly, reflexively support Israel no matter what it does. And so, but you're seeing a turning point, like you see in New York City. We elected a pro-Palestinian mayor, right? That shows New York City is the most Jewish state is the most Jewish city in America. And historically, right-wing Jews have had immense influence in New York City. So he has the nomination. He's effectively won. But the fact that he was able to convince these right-wing, pro-Israel, reflexively pro-Israel organizations that like his politics is worth overcoming whatever worries they have about his political views shows that there's a shift in the way Jews are thinking about this thing. So I do think American Jews are shifting. I wish it was more, because in my own family, I get very frustrated with sort of the denial about serious war crimes that are happening there. But I think overall, I'm seeing a shift. Yeah.
But do you feel that you are safe after all this shit happened?
Safe in what way? From Jews, or from
the people, normal people?
Normal people?
That you have the same, like the 60% with AIPAC. Do you think that but a lot of people, they don't know that there is 40% against what is happening?
They know, and they call us traitors. They call us Nazis. They call us anti-Semites, and that's okay because we're comfortable with it. We're comfortable in our Jewishness, and we're confident. And I don't know if you've ever seen me in the Zionist rooms. They question my Jewishness every day. They call me anti-Semite. I don't care because I'm confident in my Jewishness, and I know I'm taking a
said, or somebody said, so Emichi Eliyahu was one of the heritage ministers. You know what he said? He said these people that are under Hamas captivity, they're actually prisoner of wars. Well, what's your take on this? I mean, anybody can chime in. Do you think that they're prisoners or they're hostages?
Wait, who said that? Who said?
Emichi Eliyahu, it's a heritage minister. Yeah, Emichi, I don't know how to say it, but he's Amichai Eliyahu, he's the one. He's a genocidal psychopath. He said it. He said that whoever's under Hamas captivity, they're actually prisoners.
What's the context? I don't know what you're talking about, because if he's a right-wing minister, why would he say that?
Yeah, he said that it was in Muslim times of Israel. Let me put the link.
He may be being honest about the fact that everyone who's still held captive in Gaza were serving in the IDF. Is that not right?
I don't think that's his intention. I'm confused why he would say that, because he's like one of the most far-right fucking retarded ministers in the Israeli government. Why would he say something that supports the Hamas?
I have a theory. He may, if you say civilians, then the Israeli public may want negotiations. But if you say they're military, well, then soldiers can be sacrificed, because that's kind of the point of soldiers. They fight.
So I want to read the article to understand the context. Maybe that's what he was intending, but I'm trying to understand how that fits with his far-right psychotic nightmare.
He might be saying, like, there's no need to negotiate more for hostages, because they're not really hostages.
Yeah, I'll read it out to the room. I posted a link in the chat. It says, Minister says hostages should be labeled prisoners. They're released and delayed until war ends. MHA Eliyahu, prisoners of war are only dealt with after victory first. Hamas should be defeated. Yair Golan, the government decided long ago to sacrifice the hostages.
Exactly. So he's saying, don't worry about returning the hostages. Those are soldiers. They're going to be sacrificed.
You're right. This is
we need to kill everyone.
This is consistent with the far right, which has placed defeating Hamas over the hostages, and they've come full circle. They've come from like, oh, what about our hostages, to let's fuck the hostages. Like, we don't care. We mostly care about killing Hamas, and that's been a very divisive topic in Israeli society.
So, can we say that these are prisoners, not hostages anymore?
Yeah.
Because they're soldiers?
No,
I mean, I don't know. I don't have a judgment call.
I'm talking about from the Israeli side. The Zionist narrative. So the Zionist narrative is, right, I put the link in the chat. According to this heritage minister and his psychopath followers, they believe that these people are prisoners. They're not hostages.
But we're going on a fucking genocidal fucking psycho based on, we're judging based on his opinion?
So Buttercup, you fight the Zionists with the Zionist state?
I do fight the Zionists, but why are you using this guy?
It's because you would use the Zionist talking point.
No, I wouldn't say that. I only use credible sources, like credible.
This is credible. He's a heritage minister.
He's not a pragmatist. He's not a pragmatist. He's a fucking psycho.
He's a government official. Yes or no?
Yeah, but mainstream Israelis don't see him as mainstream.
I understand, but government
He's
official.
not useful to me. That's all. I'm saying I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't think he's useful for the argument, because even Israelis acknowledge that he's a fucking psychotic genocidal maniac.
Yeah, I agree with it. You think Ben Gvir is not just
100%. I don't use him as a source either. I use people that are pragmatists and centrists and.
Moshe Yaalon, they look at him as pro-Hamas. He's the one that said ethnic cleansing and, you know.
But he wasn't. Because he was a for many years. He's much military experience. He's a pragmatist, right? He thinks about Israel's long-term national security. He doesn't only think about bailing out Hamas. They see him as like a legitimate authority on military. Amichai is like a clown that was just put in there like a lackey for Netanyahu to keep him in power. No one takes him seriously. That's the difference. I only cite people who they take seriously, like Moshe Yaalon or Galat, that the war should have ended a year ago, right? These are reputable, grizzled. He is. He's a war criminal. He's a monster. But I agree with him that the war should have ended a long time ago, right? We can agree on one thing and disagree on others.
Yeah, but they don't respect him. If you go into the Zionist room, they don't respect Moshe Yaalon.
They don't respect Amichai either. They say, oh, he doesn't represent us. That's what they say about him.
But they respect them because all of these psychopaths that are in there. Like, you know.
I mean, I've talked to them about it, and they excuse them, but they don't respect them. They say, well, he's not really a Kahanist. They'll say shit like that.
The point Ben mentioned is that the difference between
as credible, you know?
Buttercup, are you an Israeli Jew or an American Jew?
American, but I have I have family in Israel.
What's your view on Zionism?
On Zionism, I believe that that it's not sustainable and it failed in its efforts to. There's two kinds of anti-Zionists. There are those that think that it was flawed to begin with, and there are those that believe that it's failed to, it was a dated thing. It happened. We can't change it, but we need a new model that's more sustainable. So I've expressed this many times that we need to create a new state that gives everyone equal rights under law. I'm kind of pro one state, but if people can't get along, maybe it's two states. But ultimately, it's urgent to me for both Palestinians and also for Jewish sustainability, for Palestinians to have equal rights under the law and to be able to have freedom of movement and agency and sovereignty. Like, it's fucking urgent, and it's for both the Palestinians and obviously the Jewish history and our Jewish reckoning. Like, it's unconscionable what happened here in Gaza and what happened for the last 80 years.
Yeah, so do you believe that you need Zionism to be a Jewish person?
No, of course not. Judaism way preceded Zionism by thousands of years. Who gives a shit about Zionism? This is a modern movement.
Well said. Yeah, definitely. This is modern movement, late 1800s, espoused by Peter Herzl. Actually, there's other Zionist thought leaders years before him, but it means known as the father of Zionism. This is not to equate, because that's what these Zionist organizations want to do. Zionist lobby groups, human rights organizations like ADL, quote-unquote human rights organizations like ADL, they want to equate Zionism and Judaism, that they're inseparable, and that Jewish Israel, the state of Israel, is inseparable to Jewish identity. Hence the flag burning controversy last year ago. So, but no, I mean, a lot of Jews like Buttercup and others we've heard from, others, here at Clubhouse, other prominent Jews in the media, scholars.
We're repulsed by this. We feel like Zionism, like when you attach your religion and your culture. I know some people have sentimental, have strong identity and cultures and religion and are religious people in this room. When you attach your religion to a political movement, which doesn't make decisions based on morality, they make decisions, usually one immoral act over another, you tarnish the religion and you tarnish the culture. So it's tarnished thousands of years of history, which, especially coming out of World War II, and it's really repulsive to me that we've attached ourselves to a political movement that is engaged in these war crimes. It's tarnished our culture and religion. It's horrific and it's urgent that it needs to stop.
I would feel the same as a Muslim if Zionism was, a Muslim ideology or espoused by some Muslims. Dan is a comment here. How are Palestinian prisoners hostages now? That would be the most debated thing I've heard. What would be the instead of having them as hostages and hostage hostages or religion? You're secular, you don't care about the religion. Well, Buttercup, you can address the second comment, but the first comment, because that's directed towards you. The first comment, well, yes, Dan, Israel has a history of taking hostages, Palestinian hostages by thousands over the decades, far outnumbering the number of hostages Palestinians have taken. Palestinians have responded to Israeli terrorism by taking hostages as leverage. Zionist government of Israel takes hostages, Palestinian hostages, as leverage against Palestinians, bargaining chips. They've taken hostage, for example, Marwan Barghouti, right? You can call him prisoner, but he's a hostage. They take hostage kids. They lock them up. They threaten their parents. They want to silence them. They use them as bargaining
100%.
chips. Yeah, so that's helped you understand better, Dan. And then, Buttercup, you might want to address his second comment.
I just want to ask about the
Hold on, before I ask.
question.
Can you
What was the second comment? I missed it.
He says, our religion, Buttercup, you're secular, you don't care about the religion, stop playing.
You can just respond in the chat, and you don't have to respond here. There's people that want to speak.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question, please?
And Sam says they're Jewish when it's convenient. So
You can chat, respond to it in the chat, brother. This app is made for the voice chat. We're not here to respond to every message.
No, I'm just saying for Buttercup to respond to that.
We have a big stage here. We need people voice.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
If you're not on stage, you're a dimmy.
Can I ask
what's up? How y'all doing?
They're going 1-1.
Yeah, I just want to ask myself because she's a real Jew. Do you have like a grandma, grandpa around you somewhere?
A grandparent?
Yeah, no, old people from Jew.
Sure.
Yeah, because I wanna know. Have you heard about something called 80 years curse on Jewish people? I don't know.
I've heard this theory. I just don't like. It seems like superstition to me. I haven't heard it from Jewish people. I've heard it from Arab people that are friends of mine.
Only from Arab, right?
Yeah.
But can you ask
Jewish people don't talk about this.
even your old people?
No, they don't talk about the 80-year curse.
We're invincible.
I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't really believe in superstitions like that, and also it's not part of the Jewish tradition. But I have heard it from my friends who are Palestinian, who said, "Oh, did you hear about this?" Like, they'd asked me this a lot.
Yeah, but
And I never heard of it. I've never heard of it in my life, honestly.
but your old people, they don't.
No. And actually, I wanted to. This actually, what's his name? I think Dean asked me, or someone asked me what Sam was saying about whether I'm like a real Jew. I'm like more Jewishly literate than 90% of the people who live in the Zionist room. They don't know anything. Like, I grew up with a very traditional Jewish background, and I'm much more familiar with the Jewish text, history, and Jewish culture than any of them. And so whenever they try to challenge me and tell me I'm not a real Jew, they fucking lose because they can't take the heat. Like, they don't know Jewish tradition and scripture the way I do. And so they always try to, instead of debating me on the issues, they just come after me and tell me I'm not a real Jew because it's like very threatening to them that a Jew would say these things.
With that being said, do you support the way the state of Israel was established?
So I honestly, like, I don't have an opinion about that. I think, I don't know because I wasn't there, and
But you know the book, right?
Okay, so let me tell you, when I learned about this, the way Israel was established, I learned only half of the story. And then when I turned 18 and I started to read historians, including Israeli historians, it changed my view. And I learned that they're not the most moral army in the world, and there were massacres, and there was a Nakba, and there was horrific things happened. But I guess generally, I would say I'm forward-looking. Like, we can't change the past. Horrific things happen. There's an original sin, right? Just like in America, there's an original sin. We wiped out the Native Americans, and we need to be accountable, and there needs to be reparations. But the fact is, like, in order for less people to die, we need to look forward. So generally, yes, I 100% recognize the crimes that happened in 1948. I don't see it as this big victory of Jewish sovereignty. I think we need to acknowledge those crimes and pay reparations.
47, though.
It's got to be before that with our militias, actually.
Oh, yeah, the, Let me just make a point here. I'm an honest Jew.
I want to make...
Can I make a quick point? I want to point out my fellow Jews' behavior. You were asked if you support the way Israel was established, and you went on this long go-around. I'd recommend the documentary Tantura to you. Okay, it talks about our Jewish heroes that massacred and raped underage Palestinian girls to the point of death. And they laugh about it.
I really respect the art, to be honest, Jew.
Let me finish.
I respect
They laugh
it.
about it. So you were asked if you support the way Israel was founded. We can give you all these sources. It's a simple yes or no. You don't need a roundabout. You could say no. You don't support the way it's founded. Great, no problem. You can say yes, but it doesn't have to be a long-winded answer. I support the way it was founded because I believe in Jewish supremacy. I don't really care about Palestinians.
But listen, man, I answered this question because according to the book and the teachings of the book, it's completely illegal to establish the state the way it was established, right? And she said that she knows the book and she's the most literate person on this earth.
Wait, which book are you talking about? Torah, or like which book are you talking about?
Whatever book, you can choose one of the five and tell me if it goes, if it aligns with any of the teachings of the books. You can pick and choose. I give you the option.
No, I think Talmud, he asked, I think it's okay for them in Talmud.
No,
that's what I guess.
It's not.
Are you sure?
Until the Messiah comes.
Yeah. Evangelical.
So where's the Messiah?
He's coming after 3 years.
Evangelicals are speeding that process up.
So tell me which book you're talking about so I can talk about it. I just don't, there's like, with Jewish history, which I learned in depth in my childhood education, when the last time they started a state, it was a huge travesty for the Jews. It ended up in their destruction. There was Bar Kokhba started a state, and they actually had the old shekel, and it ended up in the worst catastrophe in Jewish history. So I think.
Let me make it easier for you. What does your book, what does any of your books say about establishing a state?
So the only other time Israel established a state, like 3,000 years ago, it ended up in catastrophe for the Jews. So
I'm not asking you that.
there's no directive that says you have to establish a state. No, in the
So
Torah.
what does the book say about establishing? So the book doesn't mention anything about
No.
establishing a state for the Jews.
No, and the last time they did it, it was a horrific outcome.
So it doesn't say you have to wait for the Messiah until you establish a state.
So some religious Jews feel that. There are religious anti-Zionists.
Religious Jews. I'm talking about the book itself.
The book says, they call it they don't talk anything about a state, but they talk about the Beit HaMikdash and these religious institutions, but doesn't say anything about like a formal government. So it's not, I don't think it's mutually exclusive that Palestinians can live in the land and have equal rights under the law, and also the religious goal of having like sort of whatever the, ultimate messianic. Listen, the Messiah is something that everyone, all Abrahamic religions believe in, but like, let's be real, it hasn't happened, let's be honest about that. But I understand that in scripture, there's talk about it all the time, but like, they all conflict with each other, they all involve like great war. Like, let's be realistic and pragmatic here. Let's not talk about great.
Thank you. You answered. Thank you.
But the other thing you said, the 80-year curse, if you Google it, if the Israelis or the Jewish folks talk about it, they do talk about that.
I'm telling you, I'm like very knowledgeable about all different sects of Judaism and what they talk about. They don't talk about the 80-year curse. I've only heard it from Palestinian close friends who come for Shabbat all the time to my parents' house.
Hold on, if you Google it right now, right, you'll be able to.
Google's not reality. I'm telling you something as someone who's familiar with every sect of Judaism, and no one talks about this.
So are you aware of Lev Tahor?
Lev Tahor is like a cult that's been banned from Israel. They're not even considered part of Judaism.
So they're not, but it started in Israel.
Yeah, but they were banned and they were kicked out, right? They're like a crazy.
Were all of them kicked out or some of them?
I just know that it's illegal in Israel, the cult, and they moved to Guatemala to try to find. They're just like a weird cult. They don't represent Judaism any more than any other cult. I don't know how that's real.
Because they claim that they're Jewish.
We flush them out of our society.
They are Jewish. They're a cult within Judaism.
Cancel them.
But they don't represent the mainstream at all, or even like even the fringe.
We canceled them. I mean, we took care of them.
Thank you, honest Jew.
There is nothing kosher about the.
I think they follow the extreme version of Judaism, right?
Yeah.
No, they're a spin-off. There's a lot of spin-offs. I don't know if you've been to Israel, but there's a lot of weird, culty, spin-off shit. Like, people are all kinds of. It attracts all the weirdos,
Like
It isn't that. The Summers are fairly mainstream compared to Lev Tahor. Lev Tahor, you're really considered an extreme interpretation.
Yeah.
But I've met modern Orthodox Jews, I've met ultra-Orthodox Jews, I've met Reform Conservative, and I've learned deeply about all of these movements and what they believe, and none of them believe in this 80-year-old course. I've only heard it from Palestinians.
So actually, I don't know if Amir's the one that said it. I don't think the 80-year is part of the religion.
It's not at all. There's no mention of it. I'm proficient in all the books of the Jews.
I didn't say about the
But it did happen.
I heard it from, I think, one of the officials. Did we not come on TV or something? Or was it
No,
one of the
it's
officials
never happened.
Israel?
No. I studied all these books as a kid. I know them. They don't talk about 80-year-old.
But it does happen. It does exist.
It exists in the Palestinian narrative, not in the Jewish narrative. I don't know. Maybe it's real, but it's.
Absolutely not in the Palestinian narrative.
I've only heard it from Palestinians. I've never heard it from Jews, and I'm familiar with all the different variations of Judaism.
Sure, but look at that.
So you never heard of
Google's not reality, dude.
You never heard of what Abu said earlier when he said that some Jews say that they're not promised a land until the Messiah comes. You've never heard of
No, that I've heard for sure. There's ultra Orthodox Jews who 100%. Yeah. There's anti-Zionist Orthodox Jews, and they come from a religious perspective. They think that the scripture.
I'm familiar with them. Put the link in the chat. This is an Israeli organization. See if they're Jewish. Can you verify that book? I put the link in there.
You can continue, Buttercup, because you first said that it's not in the religion, and now you're agreeing that you have to wait for the Messiah. So.
No. I said the 80-year curse is not in the religion, but the idea, the anti-Zionism is in the religion.
Establishing the land.
What does that have to do with the 80-year curse? The 80-year curse.
I'm just going back because.
No. The anti-Zionist Judaism, it has a long legacy, and it's legitimate, and it's existed in all streams of Orthodoxy. Although after the Holocaust, they kind of all moved to the Zionist cause, but previously, almost all 100% of religious practicing Jews were against Zionism because they believed that it shouldn't be a secular state; it should only be delivered by God. And if you believe in some messianic age, then yes, it'd be delivered by God. But if you don't, sort of the evangelicals have a really horrific outcome. Every Abrahamic faith has a horrific outcome during the end of times, but none of it ever happens, and so we maintain the status quo and people live peacefully. Also, Judaism, like Christianity, like Islam, have some horrific apocalyptic outcome, and that prevents the creation of a state because you have to wait for the apocalyptic outcome, right? And because that never happens, ultimately that's a bulwark against the violent conquering of a people because they're waiting for the religious Messiah to come down from heaven and solve it.
Where does this in what scripture is this present?
There's a lot of all over it talks
because
about
earlier you said it's not in any scripture.
No, I said the 80-year curse is not in any scripture. Messiah is all over the scripture.
The 80-year curse came 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, so I was only responding to Amir's talking about the 80-year curse. Messiah is all over the scripture.
So, Amir, this person, the link that you sent, yeah, he's a Jewish.
He's Mizrahi, right? Mizrahi.
So I had never heard of this guy. I'll look into him, but I'm telling you, I haven't.
He is associated with Mizrahi.
Because the website says Mizrahi?
No, just look him up.
I'm looking him up.
Yeah.
Who's this
And
guy?
actually, the number 80 is mentioned a lot in
Where?
Judaism.
Where?
In your teachings.
Which one? There's so many books.
Yeah, let me look it up here because I think we went over it yesterday. But you can look up this person from your end and see if he's
He might be just one notch off academic, I haven't.
So we can't say
I'm telling you, I'm really familiar with every subject.
This is the problem.
It's a Mizrahi organization.
With you guys, is that first you say no, and then when we're close to finding something about them, you say maybe.
No, I don't say maybe. I don't. No. No, you're right. Abu, you're wrong. Abu, I'm familiar with all of the script. Literally, I had to study all of the books.
You're not because you said it doesn't.
This one random fucking academic, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
About the Messiah, you said no.
Messianic, I never said no about the Messiah. Messianic is foundational to Jewish belief.
So what does your teaching say about establishing a state before the Messiah?
I already told you that. I said Messianic Messiah is foundational to Jewish belief, 100%. The religious Jews think is that a secular state has no justification. They think that ultimately you have to wait for the Messiah, which never fucking happens. So you can wait forever. Just like the evangelical Jews have some weird apocalyptic vision for the Messiah. Every Abrahamic faith has apocalyptic vision for the Messiah, including Jews, and that's why the religious Jews oppose the Zionist state because they're waiting for the Messiah.
Why do you call it weird if it's something that's literally mentioned in your book? I don't know how the fuck is that weird.
I'm not a religious Jew. I think it's weird, but I respect it and I've learned it in depth because I grew up with a traditional Judaism.
She's saying it never happened, and she doesn't think it's going to because we've waited too long. She's been repeating herself.
said you're familiar with a lot of the books. Does that include the Talmud?
Yes, I actually, the other day they told me I'm not a real Jew, and they started quizzing me on really basic shit about Judaism, and I recited the Talmud by heart in Hebrew. And even then, because they don't know the Talmud, they thought it was...
Yeah, they don't know, but most of them only know
They don't know
very
that. They're
basic.
fucking ignorant.
Yeah. They didn't even know that, I had to argue with them about the Israelite kingdom and how it broke up, and like, they had no idea. I'm like, why am I arguing with you about your own history?
They don't know shit. They're like fucking ignorant Jews, yeah.
So I did, I think you might find this interesting, Buttercup. I put in a scholarly article regarding generally what has happened with Gaza in this war. But the reason I pasted it is because it talks about the systemic obligations that a state or occupier has versus the sort of non-systemic obligations that an occupied people have. For example, to show that the way they think of war crimes, committed by an occupied people versus an occupier, they're not thought of the same way. Like, it doesn't mean that Hamas, would not be held accountable for war crimes, but it would not be considered a systemic accountability throughout the organization, probably at an individual level, as opposed to Israel, which would be considered, the whole nation under the ICJ, or the UN framework, because it is the occupier itself. So it's just proving that they look at them both differently, not dismissing them, just looking at them both differently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dispute it. I'm reading this and it looks like an argument, like a legal argument, more than that's what's happened historically. But I think it's a valid argument, and I'm interested in learning more about it.
Yeah, you could look at Uganda and South Africa for historical legal precedents, but yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I'll read it.
So listen, when it comes to the number 80, Judges 3:30, which is in the Tanakh, Book of Judges, 80 equals double generation of peace, punishment, cycle. Book of Exodus, Tanakh, and Talmud, Bavli, 80 equals age of Moses, symbol of strength and judgment. Mishnah.
Yeah, there's a lot of gematria. There's a lot of gematria science out on the internet, including from QAnon conspiracy theories.
I'm not saying that it's connected to the 80-year curse. I'm just, putting it out there for you. There is also a lot of other verses that includes 80 in Jewish sources. For example, Genesis 6:3.
It's not really relevant.
That's not an idea. That's not an idea. That's really pushing mainstream Judaism. Is what you're saying. It's like I've never heard of the 80-year curse.
I know for a fact that it's not a real thing.
I think it's okay to ground him that the number 80 has been seen on a repeat in the Old Testament and somehow seems to be auspicious, right? Now you could say perhaps it is superstitious. However, it's not that unlikely that the 80-year curse could very well be applied here, or at least used as an excuse for whatever, reason that, I think you could grant him that.
And so how would it serve their narrative? Because like you and I, anarchists, we're rational.
Whose narrative?
So you and I, we don't believe in curses, right? We believe in rational world and real life.
Yeah.
So how would it serve their narrative to pretend there's a curse? So when I talk to Zionists, they've never brought this up. They don't know what
atheist? She's atheist?
No,
but she's a cynic. She's a critical thinker.
Yeah, I'm a critical thinker.
I'm reasonable.
Cynic is a psychopath.
And I'm reasonable, and I don't believe in the Jews.
He's like, I'm skeptical.
I love you, honest Jew. I fucking love you.
I appreciate
Look at this guy. I mean, perhaps they're gonna bring it up as an excuse. Okay.
I talk with them all day. I've never heard it, and I also.
I engagement
with religious Jews, I've never heard it.
I agree, yeah, I agree. But if at all, if it's left out, and even if the Palestinians are saying that, they've perhaps heard it somewhere, from whatever, an irrational crowd, a superstitious crowd. I mean,
Perhaps.
80 seems to be some sort of, auspicious repetition that we do find, I think, in the Old Testament. Also,
Whose narrative does it serve, though? Whose narrative does it serve?
Whoever's using it for their own, I guess.
It serves what's happening now.
Yeah,
Because,
so
in
you're
the
correct.
next 2-3 years, we are at that 80-year time frame.
So it serves the Palestinian cause, the narrative.
It's not about serving, bro. It's the pattern that's happening.
I'm just saying, if it was useful for the Jewish cause, they would have used it.
Moss's mind by it is what I'm
It's not
saying.
about serving.
Simply because it's appealing, right? Some narrative needs to
There's
be
an appealing
followed.
too, though. If Jews could use it, they would, because they're like the Zionists will find any excuse to defend.
I think who's saying the Zionists are using it.
I've never heard it. I was talking to every fucking Zionist. I've heard every narrative. I've never heard this. And they say a lot of crazy shit. Like they come up with crazy excuses, and they would have come up with this if it would serve their narrative.
So what are they gonna say? Like the Zionists that you said with, they're gonna say like in the next 2 years we're gonna face hardship, we might be exiled. We're
the time frame
like,
is
is that what you're expecting?
It's just weird that I've only heard it from my Palestinian friends and not from any Zionists.
But the time frame simply like is an excuse to exterminate, it's obviously serving some sort of purpose.
So the way I've heard it is that the reason, a lot of people think that Zionism is failing and that Hamas won in this battle because they're being isolated and they're getting recognized by all these countries. So there is a perception that the Hamas won, even among Zionists. They've lost this, at least the public relations war, the moral high ground, everything. They've ceded. So the only way it serves the narrative that Israel is losing, and now they're getting their due course. They're getting what they deserved. That's the narrative it serves. And so I think the Zionists who are super defensive and pretend this massive failure is not happening, that doesn't serve them.
Yeah, true. It would serve a very small community of true, like, honest Zionists, I guess.
But I've never heard it from them, and I engage with them. These are my family members,
Yeah, I just think it could be superstitious, perhaps.
Maybe just look it up, like
But I think I would say it's there. I heard it too.
I actually did. When my friend brought it up, my Palestinian friend said, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And I looked into it. I couldn't find any reference in the Torah.
I see.
So we're right now we're not saying that.
I speak Hebrew. I speak Aramaic. I've read the text in all the ancient scripts. There's nothing like that in the Torah.
So who just said that the 80-year curse?
There's all kinds of crazy shit on the internet. It's just not true. That's all.
Who said that the 80-year curse is in the Torah?
So it's not in Judaism. So I don't know where it came from, but it's not from the Jewish narrative. It's from a different narrative.
Do you think the Zionist state is in the book?
Possibly. I don't know. I haven't analyzed
No,
it.
it's not right now. Maybe later in the end times. So just like they're able to build a state, they're able to make up whatever bullshit that comes to their mind.
It's a narrative that sells. I'm not saying they wouldn't. They sure would. They lie about all kinds of shit. I'm just saying they haven't.
All I'm saying is, right? You gotta think outside the box, right?
I am, but they haven't used that lie yet. Maybe they will in the future, but they haven't yet.
So Jewish history does show recurring cycles when roughly 80-year spans of prosperity, strength are followed by hardship or exile, which fits the symbolic pattern drawn from, I think this.
What is this, Wikipedia?
Moses, age. Why does it matter?
Because I studied Judaism in depth, and this is not a real narrative.
I read it for you. You then go look.
From what? Provide a source. Provide an actual source.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because you're claiming Judaism
This is a summary.
of what?
This is a summary that combines everything that I mentioned earlier.
Then we need attribution. What's the summary from? Click on the attribution.
1 second. Let me give you the fucking verses, bro. Hold on 1 second.
Here, Rob, dude. Rob, right? You also studied the scripture. This is not a real thing. It's not
We're not saying that it's in the fucking scripture, bro. It's not in the fucking scripture. The scripture doesn't tell us about the 80-year curse.
But I also talked talk to Zionists and they say all kinds of crazy shit.
حسيتيزي شو انك حمارة. اخذ شكلك بايدي. You know what? It's not there. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist. It's not there. The history doesn't say anything about it. It's made up by fucking Netanyahu. It's okay. Relax. Talk about something else. Go ahead.
But I want you to check out my link.
Yeah.
And that has to do with Mizrahi Jews.
But I have heard of
So,
so
they're Arab Jews, by the way. Mizrahi are Arab Jews, right? And some of them are from Iraq, some of them are from Palestine, some of them are from, all over the place, but they're Arab Jews.
I see.
So it's an organization. If you check out their website that I posted.
Well, we ask the Zionists in the audience. Come up if you've heard of this narrative.
I don't know. You want to come up? I never heard of a state.
They're talking a lot of shit in the comments. Come up if you heard of this narrative.
It doesn't mean it holds truth value. However, that it exists can be acknowledged, right? Even if it's not two people.
Maybe two people, but I haven't met those two people.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying.
It's true. Those two things could be true at the same time. It's possible that some one guy in that article believes this, but also, as someone who's very familiar with a lot of different Jewish subcultures, I haven't encountered.
True. I mean, most of the time, like even within other Abrahamics, there are things that we hardly find in its like primary scripture. However, like you'd have additions such as these to serve purposes or just to make narratives. I don't know, to fulfill like selfish needs. I mean, this is all a possibility, right? I think I was just highlighting that.
Listen, I'm not excluding the possibility. Of course not.
Yeah. And who you want?
I don't want, bro. Like, dragging me nuts, to be honest with you.
Why are you getting so upset?
I'm not upset, bro. I never said it's in the book. I'm just drawing the connection,
Yeah.
Like, it's as simple as she going and looking up what is the 80-year curse of the Jews.
I've looked it up many times because my friends who are Palestinian brought it up to me, and I looked
Okay,
it up.
let's look it up together. Let's look it up together. 80
But we can't use that from Wikipedia. We need to use authentic.
Let's go on Google.
No, Google's on. We need to use original text, okay?
You want me to fucking invent the rabbi for you to give you a fucking answer? Like, what do you want me to do?
You need to go to scripture.
You can't just go straight AI. AI hallucinates.
Scripture, bro. Like,
AI
it's
hallucinates.
not in the scripture. It's not in the scripture.
Okay then.
It's not in the fucking scripture. It's in the history. It's not in the fucking scripture.
Like hadith maybe.
Now say it one more time. Now repeat it again.
It's not Hadith. They don't believe in Hadith.
I learned about it through Netanyahu. I learned about the 80-year curse through Netanyahu.
You're quiet all this fucking time, bro. I thought you speak like all this time. You're quiet.
What? I was busy. I was doing stuff. Was this an important fact? I don't
No,
understand.
after she left, she started talking, bro. She kept saying it's not in the scripture. I read all the books.
Oh.
It's not in the scripture.
I just heard you say the 80-year curse. I just wanted to say, I learned about it.
I read the 700 books that they have, and she doesn't know that they have.
No, Abu,
Okay.
Abu, wallahi, you were grilling her the way you need to be done.
Being honest about most of it, man. Come on.
No, Nargis, you weren't here before, bro. This is something that's been going on for like over an hour. It's a lot of dancing. Abu's if anything, Abu's taking it easy. Like, his approach is right.
Just answer, bro. Just answer the questions.
And every time she gets back in the corner, she's like, I know this. I have been studying everything. I know everything that has to do with every scripture.
You have Edward over here hearing me fucking struggle with this idiot, and
I didn't know, dude.
All of a sudden, he's busy. He's doing stuff.
I just heard you saying 80 years. I'm like,
this is not.
When I heard it from Netanyahu, I thought he was saying that he put an 80-year curse on the Palestinians. I was like, what the fuck is this? But I heard in his speech, I have to ask people.
So the number 80, that word, is mentioned a shitload of times.
Yes.
Yes. The number 80. I'm not saying the 80-year curse. The number 80 is mentioned a bunch of times in the book.
Yeah, it has to do with destruction.
should go after 80, like 70 is old or mature and then 80 is
It has
productive?
different meanings. It has different meanings. One of them, yeah, it could be exile and punishment and all that stuff. Because the 80-year curse specifically is part of their history. Like they experienced it. Every 80 year, something happens. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's why I was saying, like, granted. Since we've heard it, granted. It's okay to grant it.
Well,
It's
Netanyahu
not them.
said it. I mean, if Netanyahu said it and he says, I will protect you from the 80-year curse.
Netanyahu, Edward, I don't have any data on Netanyahu said it.
He absolutely said it. I heard that's where I learned from. I heard he said it in the video.
It's not, I don't have it, brother, I don't have it.
Well, you don't have it, but I heard it. After like October.
I checked on Google Baba, and I checked on ChatGPT, your favorite, you know.
I didn't hallucinate it.
It's not on there.
Do remember, he needs to be careful with what he's saying, okay? Because as it is, he's an idiot. On top of that, he has to show some sort of religious affiliation to his motives, right? So he probably thought, now if you've heard it very well, you can post it.
He literally said, and I will, don't worry.
I believe you.
Oh, you have the clip?
Can I read AI overview? I asked the Netanyahu reference the 80-year Jewish curse. The AI overview says, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has referenced the historical idea of a Jewish state falling apart in its 8th decade, also known as the, quote, 80-year curse. He has not explicitly referenced to it as a, quote-unquote, curse.
Can you put the article in the chat?
Other Israeli leaders have discussed the concept. The reference is linked to the timing of the modern state of Israel, which was established in 1948, past year Rebbe, for us Jews, and the upcoming 80-year mark.
Can you put the link in the chat on the Jew?
There's no link, you just gotta grab it over.
And he said, I'll protect you from it. That's what he told me.
the link that Amir posted, yeah, she took a few minutes and read it.
Yeah, it's from Israeli.
Yeah, the first Jewish state founded by King David accomplished phenomenal achievements and survived united for 80 years. In the 81st year, due to internal conflicts, the kingdom of the house of David disintegrated into the separate kingdoms of Yehuda and Israel, and so began its fall. In the process, we lost millions of our brothers, the members of the 10 tribes, who, according to Rabbi Akiva, will not return in the future. This is just part of this.
Yeah, well, well said. So how does it serve them? This is what she was asking, right? So tell me how this serves them.
Serves who? Them?
The Zion.
It doesn't serve them.
Hang on. Netanyahu said it about the 80-year.
I PTR'd it.
I want to hear what Abu's views are. Abu Jan.
No, but we need to get to Buttercup, I think.
Yeah, Kitover. Abu Jan, so why did you bring that? Like in what? For what reference did you bring that up?
Because right now we're 76 years into dealing with this terrorist entity. And 7 years. 2028 marks the 80 year. So if this is true and history repeats itself, then something big is going to happen.
And they're on that trajectory. They're weakening and falling apart.
1 second. I want to hear what Abu has to say. And this is true for who? Like for them?
For them, yeah, and it serves us if it's true. They either be punished,
That's why they won't bring it up.
Implode. Or the 80-year curse could be the state of Palestinians would be, come to power.
I believe it.
You never know.
I know. The win is going to be for Palestine.
Oh my God, Buttercup left, I wanted to tell her. Because I have a whole bunch of articles that's from, I pulled it up on ChatGPT, even Ehud Barak said it.
I read it in scripture.
I actually never
Old
looked up.
Testament, actually. Can somebody give me the Old Testament reference?
That's why, Amir, I went into Limited's room and I was like, what is this 80-year curse he's talking about? Did he curse the Palestinians?
No,
And I was like, it's weird for a world leader.
Edward, what bothered me, hang on, just 1 second. What bothered me about what she said is she only heard it from Palestinians. That's like a gaslighter thing, you know what I'm saying?
I didn't like that.
This is the gaslighter part, I didn't like it. So Buttercup, are you here? Let me pick her in because
Yeah,
we need to get to the, we need to correct this narrative because she put the blame on Palestinians. She heard it from her Palestinian friend. That's fucking gaslighting the shit out of Palestinians.
But it's not that.
And they heard it from
That's
Netanyahu.
bullshit. Yeah, we need to debunk this bullshit.
Hey, Amir, I'm only up here to say that. Also, that part of that statement, she only heard it from us. Like, wait, what? It's not something, you know what I mean? So I'm here for it.
Yeah, but take it easy, Aaron.
I will, Dina. I came up here easy. So I'm here.
She takes a lot of courage to speak out against her own people. She
It
actually
takes a lot of courage, man. I've been trying, like even with my own friends, people I work with. She takes a lot of courage where she's coming from.
she's Jewish and she's.
Yeah, but no, dude. She waffled.
Yeah, okay.
She's not going to see eye to eye on everything, but look, she called Zionism evil. She's against many of the how Israel was founded. She's against the genocide. She's been speaking. I mean, give her some slack. She's really
We did give her slack, but she waffles, and I'm used to. Let me finish. And I'm used to. And I live in New York, bro. I'm used to Jews like this. See Jews like this every day. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying she's not an ally. We just gotta be careful, man. Like if somebody says some shit, we gotta call them out on it.
Are you guys really expecting that there's going to be no biases, like from her too? Really? This is unrealistic. Of course, there's going to be.
Exactly. Narc, if they should just let this slide. Let this slide. Then bring it back.
That's what I'm saying. Let it slide.
Just get away from the room. She's much more, beneficial to the cause than this 80-year controversy with her.
Yeah, this is not
It's actually in the Old Testament, also part of the Hebrew Bible, and it is also part of the Mishnah.
Sure. But look at there's no purpose to bring it up again. Look, she says some brilliant things, some things like a lot of courage. She's getting heat from Jews for saying, the things she says. So just.
It's not a hill to die on.
This room is all about debate, news, and whatnot. It's okay to have a debate. And, if something is wrong, we can correct this narrative. The problematic shit that I heard, that she only heard it from Palestinians. That's the biggest fucking gaslighter shit I could ever hear. And I want to dive into this 80-year curse. I tried looking up, I found an Israeli website. And now I ask ChatGPT, it gives me some, articles and whatnot, and we're just gonna have a conversation. I didn't stop.
Amir, not only that, hold on.